What is up, you guys? MMA live discussion, episode number 4. We got a real good one today. We got Joe Giannetti kicking things off. And then after that, we got Bruce Leroy, who'll be popping in a little bit as well, a little bit later. So, we got an excellent show taking place. We got a lot to talk about. Even just besides catching up with those guys, we got a lot to talk about. UFC 250 has been really coming together. A lot of solid fights that we definitely got to talk about. The fight that's taken place. Then the next event that's taking place is it's an exciting card as well. Of course, you guys already heard my breakdown video for the card, and that's a fight that I'm definitely looking forward to, an event that I'm looking forward to. So we got a lot to talk about. Joe Giannetti should be popping in very shortly. It's 8:01, so he'll probably be popping in sometime within the next 5 minutes or so. We'll see how long he takes. But yeah, man, I think in the meantime, we definitely got to take a look at the card that we have coming up. UFC Fight Night Apex. The main event is an exciting fight, man. Woodley versus Burns. There's definitely no question that is the fight on the card that everybody really wants to see, man. That's the main fight. Woodley versus Burns. I'm really excited for that fight. We're going to see, is Woodley going to be able to bounce back and get back in the win column? He's getting a little bit up there in age. He's coming off a brutal beatdown against Kamaru Usman. So, we'll see how he does in his return fight, because Gilbert Burns is a guy that, in my opinion, he's very underrated. I think he's a very dangerous fighter, has nasty jiu-jitsu. His striking has really came around. So, what's up, Brandon? Back to back tonight. That's right, man. What up, Carr? Yeah, man, I'm on Burns. You guys heard my video. I'm definitely on Burns. Especially as far as betting goes. I mean, the value is definitely on Burns. I really wouldn't feel comfortable at all touching Woodley at his line. Burns, I mean, you're getting some real value. You can get him almost as high as plus 160. Even if you're getting him at plus 150, I mean, Burns is nasty, and he could win almost any fight that he's in there with anybody. Any fight that you lock him in there with. Do a shot every time Woodley's back is to the fence. Yeah, you know how he is, man. You know how Woodley is. He'll be circling. He'll be looking for that counter shot. He has the power. Woodley can definitely put out anybody. We saw what he did to Darren Till. That was nasty. I mean, you cannot deny the power that Woodley has. However, I do feel that Gilbert Burns is a little bit more fluid. I feel like Burns is a little bit more fluid on the feet, and it'll be very interesting to see how that turns out. What about Burns by finish? I mean, it's a 5-round fight. There's definitely a couple ways that he can get the finish. I mean, he can get the submission, or he can, finish Woodley on the feet as well. If you take a look back at Woodley's career, people forget, man, we've seen him be devastated on the feet before. I mean, you think about the Nate Marquardt fight. That was a fight that he kind of gassed out a little bit in. And when he started to gas out, Nate teed off on him. So I could definitely foresee Gilbert Burns teeing off on Woodley if Woodley starts to gas out in there, because Burns is a savage. And you've seen what he's been doing recently. The guy has just been finishing guys left and right. You saw what he did to Damian Maia. I mean, I'm not a big fan, of fight math. You know what I mean? Like one fighter beats one guy, so he should beat this guy. I don't really believe in that. But if you take a look how Woodley performed against Maia, and then you take a look about how Gilbert Burns performed against Maia, I think it really sets the precedent of how much more Burns is going to be the more aggressive fighter, the guy that's willing to take risks, that's going to engage, is going to be coming forward. Woodley, he likes to play it safe. We've seen him do that time and time again. We've seen Woodley do that, against Stephen Thompson too. Don't get me wrong, he hit Thompson with those nasty counter punches, but he did not want to engage in that fight as well. So that's something that you definitely have to take into consideration. The volume. I think Burns is going to be the guy that's pushing the pace, that's stepping, coming forward and whatnot. So, and like I said, he could knock him out. He can get a submission. His jiu-jitsu is so nasty, man. Let's not forget about his jiu-jitsu. That's what he is. He's a BJJ practitioner. That's what he is. Still to this day, man, he's regularly participating in BJJ tournaments with the best BJJ practitioners in the world. So, I know Tyron Woodley is also a black belt in jiu-jitsu, but it ain't the same type of it's not on the level of Gilbert Burns' black belt. You know, it's kind of like one of those situations, man. You see certain guys get black belts from certain instructors, and it's definitely not on the same level as other instructors, man, that really make you work harder to get that black belt. Because, I mean, you're telling me that Woodley is a black belt in BJJ. You know, not to throw shade at him, but a lot of you guys know I'm not the biggest fan of Woodley's anyway. But, I mean, he did pull off a nice Darce choke against Darren Till. I mean, he definitely has those power submissions, but, you know, I just think that Burns he's a more dangerous fighter when it comes to his submission skills. And, yeah, with the leg kicks, man. Yeah, man, for sure. Burns has nasty leg kicks. Like I said, he's ferocious with the striking, 100%. And no, I could definitely see him breaking Woodley down. But then again, you know, I don't want to sleep. Don't want to sleep on Woodley, man. Woodley is a true great, and you know, he's a guy that's held gold before. I mean, you know, you can't throw too much shade at the guy, but I'm not a fan of his. I don't know. Are you guys fans of Tyron Woodley? Comment below. Are you guys fans of his? Comment in the chat. Joe Giannetti is about to be coming on very shortly. Arsony and Carr. You guys fans of old Woodley? I don't know, man. I remember him, you know, doing that old crybaby stuff, man. That he wasn't getting treated right when he was the champion. He barely ever wanted to fight. And I wasn't the biggest fan of his. We got Joe Giannetti. I'm going to bring him into the chat. There he is.
How's it going?
1 second. What's up, Joe, man? How you doing, bro?
Good. Just finished eating. I was training a little bit ago. Showered up, and here I am.
Nice, man. So did you get that 2-a-day in today?
No, not today. I was exhausted. I was working overnight last night. So just one today, but I still went hard.
All right. That's good, man. That's what we want to hear. Yeah, man. So first and foremost, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. You know, I've been following you for quite some time now, man, since The Ultimate Fighter. I was a big fan of yours on that show. And
thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. And way before I've even had any of this stuff going on, making these videos and whatnot, man, I was always following you on Instagram. And, you know, I was always, you know, since the UFC let you go, man, I've been definitely on your side, man. I definitely want to see you back in the octagon, man. And obviously that's the trajectory that you're on. So, you know, we all know that.
I appreciate it. It means a lot. It's a long journey, but it'll be worth it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. So just to give you a gist of my show, man, I kind of like to start at the roots, man. So, you know, who is Joe Giannetti, man? Like Joe Giannetti, you know, when's the first time Joe Giannetti got in a fight? You know, when did Joe Giannetti first step into a training facility and lace up the gloves and start sparring and whatnot?
So my first fight was actually in 3rd grade. I had just moved and I was the new kid in town, and you know, the school bully, class bully, was walking around bullying kids and decided to pick on me. And he did for like a week or two. And then after the teachers didn't do anything, my dad was like, "You got to fight him. You got to stick up for yourself." So I did, and I got into a fight with him, and then we became like in 3rd grade, we became like arch rivals, and until like 6th grade, we used to fight all the time.
Funny, man, funny. So were you on the winning side of that fight, or what? Did you get your hand raised?
So the first time I was on the winning side, the second time not so much, and then every time after that I was. And it was like, I remember in like 6th grade, people used to be like, "Why are you guys still fighting?" And I was like, "I just don't like him." And he would tell people the same exact thing.
That's funny, man. That's funny. So I'm sure that he wouldn't want to bump into you these days. And
no, he doesn't want that smoke now.
That's funny, man. All right. So basically, like, it seems that you were the type of guy, man, that you kind of had fighting in your DNA. You know, some of these guys I talk to, not that it's a bad thing, but there's some, you know, professional fighters I speak to, and they say, you know, I was really never a fighter until I stepped into the gym when I was 24, 25 years old, and I'm more of an athlete. But maybe you're the type of guy, you know, like me, you enjoy a good fight, you know, wherever if it's in the ring, the octagon, wherever.
Yeah, I kind of feel I'm the opposite of most guys. Like, I never looked at myself as super athletic, but I've been fighting my whole life growing up. I've been in so many fights before I started training. So it's just another day in the office, pretty much.
And you grew up in Boston, no? Massachusetts, or
just south of Boston?
Okay. So, you know, Boston has that reputation, man, for having a lot of tough dudes up there, right? They like to throw down. So good stuff, man. All right. And then as far as training, like your formal training, so you started when you were in high school, or?
So my freshman year of high school, I started wrestling, and I wrestled for 4 years because I didn't make the basketball team. So I started wrestling, and then like a weekend they were like, "Oh, somebody dropped off because of grades. Like, you want to join the team?" And I was like, "No, I'm already in wrestling. Like, I love it. I'm invested." And
Got you.
I wrestled at heavyweight my freshman year, and I got down. I went from heavyweight to 215 to 185, and then my senior year I wrestled at 170. And we had a different coach. Our school didn't support wrestling that much. Our program wasn't super funded well, and we had a different coach every year. In my senior year, my wrestling coach took us to his MMA gym that he trained at because we couldn't use the cafeteria for wrestling practice. And he
Mm.
was like, after the season, if any of you guys want to come and train, either kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, or you want to fight, like, come here. And so after I graduated, that's what I did. I worked over the summer, and then I was wrestling over there for 3 months. And then when the summer ended, I just started training.
Nice, man. Good stuff. So yeah, you started earlier than most, you know. Like for me, the first time I ever started training, I was about 23, about a year after I came back from college. And one of my major regrets, not that it was getting into it that late, but I wish I would have started, you know, even younger, man, in high school. It would have kept me out of a lot of trouble as well, too, you know. But
Yeah, I feel you. I mean, everybody starts different. I've been hearing stories lately. I forget who. It's somebody that's actually in the UFC right now. They started training when they were like 27,
yeah,
and
yeah, I've heard
I'm like,
stories like that too. Yeah, well,
it's
like Francis Ngannou. I mean, like when did he actually start formally training MMA? I think he started pretty late, to my knowledge. I know he wanted to be a boxer and whatnot, but yeah, there's a couple guys, huh?
yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy to think that like they made that jump so fast.
Yeah. And maybe I tend to notice that some of those guys, they seem like they're already kind of like stud athletes in like other sports, right? Some of them kind of transfer over.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. I mean, they kind of have like a leg up on everybody. You know, I wasn't like I said, I wasn't a super good athlete when I first started out, and I'm still working on my athleticism, but I think it's more just been my technique and my grit.
Yeah. And back to what you were talking about, you know, I was reading up on that. And, you know, I remember that from back in the day. I heard you say that before, but so you were up there in weight, right? I mean, not a lot of people might not know that you were up there in weight, right? Up in the 200s.
Yeah, I was 230, and I was only 5'8", so I was short and dumpy.
Yeah. And that's crazy. And then, you know, having your nickname as well. And, you know, you seem like you know, you're kind of slender, you know, what do you think, like, how did that play out? Like, how are you so big then? And like and the whole change and whatnot, how did that all play out?
So my whole life growing up, well, first and foremost, growing up in an Italian household, being skinny isn't really an
Mm,
option.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
they just make way too much food. It's unreal. But you know, growing up, I realized early that I was overweight. In middle school, I was like, I need to lose weight, and I used to tell myself all the time, like, I'm gonna lose weight, I'm gonna lose weight, and I never did anything about it. And I think it's because I didn't know how to. Like
Mm-hmm.
besides like don't eat 7 Oreos when I sit down and watch TV. I mean, I didn't know anything about exercising. So then when I started wrestling, it was a sport based on weight classes. And I was like, okay, this is really hard. And I was losing weight fast and I was kind of dieting. And so I was like, okay, if I can learn some dieting tips, train really hard at wrestling, and just in my head, don't focus on lose this much weight, just focus on what weight class I want to wrestle at, then hopefully I can put it all together. And every year I started putting it together, and I was changing weight classes every year.
Wow. Cool, man. That's interesting, huh? Yeah, well, I'm sure, you know, if there's any way to start losing the pounds, it's definitely wrestling, right?
Oh, it
You'll
was
burn a
crazy.
lot of
My
weight. Yeah.
dude, the first time I came home after probably like a week or two of wrestling, I had already lost like almost 15 pounds. And my dad's like, you need to eat. You got to eat. I'm like, no, 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 no more eating. Stop making food.
Yeah, man. Yeah. See, that was one of my regrets. I never actually wrestled. My brother wrestled. I played football in high school, but you know, when we were out there running, you know, I would see the wrestlers out there running, so I knew what it was about. I would see those guys running with sweatsuits on and stuff. I know it was a serious type of thing. See my brother wrestle as well.
Yeah, so it was funny. My senior year, I used to cut probably 2 or 3 pounds for every match, every tournament. And I was like, I don't know why people complain about weight cuts. Like, this is nothing. And then I started training to fight, and my coach was like, yeah, you'll fight at lightweight. I'm like, all right, cool. What's that? He's like, 155. I was like, what? And
Uh-huh.
he was like, trust me, you can make it. And like the first time I made it, I weighed in at 153. And I was like, oh, that's not bad. I had barely been lifting weights though. I was just, you know, I was doing wrestling workouts, MMA training. Um, but then after I started lifting weights, I put a little bit of muscle on, and my first big cut, I think, was like 12 pounds, and it was horrendous. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh, I get it now. All the horror stories, I get it.
Yeah. Wow, man, cool stuff. So we got a question, man, from JT MMA, and this is actually something I definitely wanted to talk to you about. How was the tough experience, you know, and heading into that experience at the age of 22 years old, which for those of you guys that don't realize, man, 22 years old, Giannetti headed in there.
Yeah, it was cool, man, because I feel like a lot of people don't really think about it. I was a huge MMA fan before I was a fighter. Like
Mhm.
complete fanboy. Followed all the fights back in the day. Everybody. The Ultimate Fighter was one of my favorite shows. I watched almost every season. And
Mhm.
when I learned that I got on the show, me and my roommate at the time, we sat and binge watched every single season of Tough before I went. And I
Wow.
was like, my roommate was like, he's like, dude, I'm down. And literally, we were sitting there taking notes, like trying to get a mental edge on everybody else that was going to be on the show. Like, because, there's always the guy that's like, I miss my girlfriend, the guy that misses
Yeah,
weight, the
yeah.
guy, like, there's those stereotypes that always make their way out there. The lazy guy that doesn't want to work hard. And I was like, all
Mhm.
right, we know what being isolated creates. So I have to make sure that when I go in there, I don't become one of those people.
Mhm.
So like I pretty much studied the tape and I was like, oh, I'm gonna go in there and just run house. And it was cool. It was fighter's heaven. Like, yeah, I miss my family, I miss my friends, but like I got to wake up and just train every single
Yeah.
day. I didn't go grocery shopping. I didn't have to drive myself anywhere. Like I just focused on training and fighting. And as a fighter, that's you can't ask for anything more.
Yeah, man. Exactly, right? So, I'm somebody that never was in that exact situation, being in the Ultimate Fighter house and whatnot. But being somebody like you that has watched every single season, that was my dream, man. Like when I was in college, even before I was officially training and whatnot, I was just obsessed with it. I'm like, that's what I got to do. That's where I got to be there. So I can only imagine what it's like for you to actually, walk into that house and whatnot. That's got to be, that had to be surreal. And then, you get into the house, man, and you perform amazingly too, man. You win your first two fights. I believe you had finishes in both them, right?
Yep.
Yeah, man. Got the first round submission in both those. That's right. Against John Gunther and Alan Zunga. And yeah, man. And, I feel like a lot of people gravitated towards you on that show. People that I've talked to, like for me personally too, man, you were probably my favorite guy in the show. I felt like you had that happy-go-lucky type of spirit, and I liked your fighting style, man. It kind of reminds you of the Diaz brothers a little bit, but the nasty
I get that a
submissions, you're
lot.
rangy, yeah, man. So, yeah, so obviously, I guess so. You mean obviously you lost your third fight? That was in the that was in the finale, right? Against Mike
Yep.
Trezano. So Mike Trezano, man, is an excellent fighter. So and you went to a decision, and you still had another opportunity to fight in the UFC. If I'm correct, right? You did have another fight in the UFC, and then no, you didn't, huh? That was it
Nope.
after the finale, right? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, that was the finale. That was in the finale show. Okay, so technically that's not, yeah, you're not really on contract. So the UFC decides to cut you. Can you go into detail a little bit about how that all transpires? Because I'll let you talk about it, but like in my mind, I'm thinking, is it because you're very young, they want you to get some more experience? Because typically you would foresee them giving you another opportunity, after your
So
performances.
So I think it's multiple things, and I think that the performance at the finale itself was the biggest one. Just like, there was a lot of hype after the show started airing. My first two fights, I dominated, and then the finale fight was very lackluster on me and Trezano's end. But I mean, I was the favorite. People thought I was gonna. I didn't think I was gonna walk through him like a lot of people did, but obviously I thought I was gonna win.
Mm-hmm.
So just a lackluster performance, and in social media, honestly, like the amount of people that were like ripping me afterwards, I was like, yeah, I got to shut my phone off so I don't go kill somebody after this. Like
Yeah.
it was rough. And that was like, and that's a good experience for me moving forward because that was my first experience of just having an army of untrained trolls on social media, just absolutely destroying you. People were saying some vile stuff.
I'm
And
sure.
it hurt because, the last 6 months, everybody's like, oh, this kid's the next big thing, da, 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 da. And I'm not like letting it get to my head, but I'm like, this is kind of cool. And then it just flips in one night. And I was like, oh, this
Yeah.
is terrible. So there was never really a reason given besides the fact that they planned on keeping all the winners that night, not just like the finale winners, but everybody that won their fight that night, they planned on keeping. Everybody that lost, they planned on letting go, and I was no different, especially with that performance. So I think it was just
Mhm.
I wouldn't say perfect storm, but yeah, perfect storm for me to not get another shot.
Do you feel like your age played a role in that as well? Because sometimes, you see Dana White, he sees these young, promising fighters. He's like, you know what, let him get some experience and he'll be back. You're only 24 years old right now, right? I mean,
Yep.
you're still so young.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's one of those things, and my buddies gas me up, but like we talk about it all the time. uh, there's certain guys that they get another shot in the UFC, and they get a shot in a fight that's not favorable their way. Like Gunther after the finale, he won, so they kept him, but he fought. I forget who he fought. Dave something. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, built guy.
Oh,
He's good.
Davey Ramos? Davey
Yes,
Ramos,
yes,
was it?
yes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
after seeing like me versus Gunther, a jiu-jitsu black belt's not a favorable fight for Gunther.
Hmm.
But I don't think I think they know there's not many guys in the UFC you can send me out there. Like, I'm not fodder. I'm not an easy win to hype somebody up. Like, if you send me in there against the kid you want to hype up, I might derail it and put him out.
Yep. Exactly, man. So and then, so let's touch upon, after you leave the UFC, man, you have some entertaining fights as well, man. You go over right now, you're on a 2-fight win streak. Since leaving the house, you're basically about 3-1. You had that draw too. I remember like seeing something about that fight. I don't have the exact details, but didn't some kind of weird happen with that fight, the Josh Harvey fight?
Yeah, so it was really weird because he took me down. Well, the first round I pulled the guillotine, and he slams me down, and I'm holding him, and I didn't get it. And then he's in my guard, and I let it go, and he doesn't move. He was a really strong kid, and he just doesn't move. And I'm like, all right, second round, whatever. I come out, I hit him with a combo. He takes me down, and he just sits in my guard. He doesn't even throw any punches, and I'm sitting there hitting him, and I'm trying to get up, and he's following my hips, and I can't get up. I can't sweep him. And like, he's just staying tight. I can't even pull his limbs to try and fake a submission to go for a different one.
Yeah.
And then the third round, I was like, I started spazzing out. He took me down again. I was like, I got to do whatever I can to win this fight. I end up reversing him. I get on his back and I land like 50 plus punches. And I'm just smashing him. And at one point, he was covered up like this, and I slid a punch underneath his arm, and he goes limp. And I hit him again, and he starts moving. And I'm like, oh, I've got this fight in the bag. And they don't stop it. And it goes to a draw. And everybody boos me. And I'm like, in a fight, you're going to say that the kid that was almost unconscious won?
Mm-hmm.
So it was a really weird situation.
I was watching a fight of yours earlier today. I believe it was, I think it might have been the Conor Barry fight. And dude, you were all over that dude, bro. You were throwing up submission after submission. I believe you had him in the triangle, off your back, and you were just raining punches. I believe that's when they stopped the fight too, man. That was an entertaining fight.
That's one of my favorite wins. I mean, Conor's a really high level jiu-jitsu player. He's a brown belt.
Yeah.
And that was another one of those things where it's a lot of people called it controversial, and it's one, textbook, he didn't defend himself, and two, I've told people from the jump, I have a weird style. I mean, you get stuck in 6 submissions, that's on you. It's not my problem.
Yeah, and he was there for a while too. He was all, he was locked up.
Yeah, so, and he was cool about it. He, after the fight, he was like, that was BS, da da da. And I was like, whatever, man. Like, thanks for the fight. And then we were at the bar that night, and he came over, and he was like, hey, good fight. Like, you caught me. And that's what I saw him tell a bunch of people. Like, people were like, that was stupid. You should get a rematch. And he was like, no, he caught me.
Yeah. He can only blame himself. Yeah, you can't look for excuses. You have to blame yourself in that situation. There and then what's the deal with that guy, Paddy Pimblett? I know that was a fight that I remember reading up on this and stuff. I know it fell through, correct?
Yeah. So basically, Cage Warriors contacted me 11 days before their event, and they said, hey, you looking for a fight? And I was like, I'm always looking for a fight. Like, what's up? And this is literally the moment I had said to myself, I'm probably not fighting until January because I can't find a local fight. I ordered a steak and cheese sub. I'm sitting there. It just gets delivered. They hit me up. You want to fight Paddy Pimblett at 155? I go, sure. When? They go, next Friday. I was like, okay. So I throw my sub. I didn't even eat it yet. I throw it in the trash. I'm like, that's heartbreaking. And I was like, yeah, sure. And my coach gave me this little pedal bike, like an indoor workout bike, and it's sitting next to my couch. And I jump on it. I do like 60 miles while I'm watching TV that night. And I cut back my calories, ridiculous. I was heavy. I was heavier than I should have been, walking around outside of camp. And I lost 24 pounds. I don't even remember. It was 21, 24 pounds in the week. And then I was cutting weight. Weight cut went beautiful until like the last 4 pounds. And I just stopped sweating. I told the promoter, I showed up, and then I stepped on the scale, and then their scale read 4 pounds heavier than the 3 I used at the gym. So now I'm over 8 pounds. And so I looked at my teammate that came with me. I go, I don't even know. I was shocked. I was like, I don't even know how to carry myself. I was like, I'm over 4 pounds. I can't sweat. Now I'm over 8 pounds. And I'm like, that's disgusting. They're going to think I didn't even try.
Yeah.
So they're like, don't worry. We'll figure it out. We'll make the fight happen. And so I go over to my teammate, and I got my bag for like after my weight cut, and I'm drinking my water. I'm eating a Cliff Bar. And his team comes over and starts screaming in my face. And I'm like, whoa. And they're like, you're going in the sauna. And I was like, no, you don't get it. I'm not sweating. I was in there for an hour with 0 sweat coming out of my body. I'm not going back in there. And one of them was like kind of getting aggressive. Like, you're going in the sauna. And I'm like, are you going to make me? I was like, because I'm not going in there. And then, Patty was chirping a little bit and, hot-headed and out of the sauna. I was pissed, and I started yelling at him. I was like, dude, like, just don't pretend that I didn't try to make the weight. I tried to save your fight on 11 days notice. Like, cut me a break. You don't have to fight me, but just shut up.
Yeah, yeah. Is that a fight that you ever foresee happening down the line, or what do you think?
No, Patty will never
No.
fight me.
Yeah.
I say it all the time to my friends, like, if you meet me and you don't know I'm a fighter, like in the wintertime when I have a hat, you can't see my messed up ears. People just think I'm this goofy kid that can't walk in a straight line without tripping, because it's true.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but even when I'm weighing in and I'm facing off my opponents, I've never seen a guy give me that look like, oh no, like I don't want to be here. Like never that fear. Like you heard Mike Tyson talk about it. He sees it in their eyes. I've
yeah,
never
yeah,
seen that. I'm a goofy
yeah.
looking kid. I've never seen that. It's when we get in the
Hmm.
cage they realize. When me and
Exactly.
Patty faced off, I looked him in the eyes and he had this look like, oh, this kid's here to win.
Yeah.
And right after we did that face off was when he's like, nah, I don't want to fight him.
I remember seeing all that. I remember seeing that. Yeah. Wow, man. Good stuff, man. Yeah, I mean, so if it's not Patty Pimblett, do you have any idea what your next fight will be? I mean, I know this whole situation that's going on probably put a little bit of a dent to that. I don't know. What's going on with you as far as your next fight?
I have no idea, man. It's crazy. I mean, the contender could call. The local promotion, Cage Titans, could have a show. It's all crazy right now. Um, Honestly, outside of the UFC, I don't see myself fighting until like the end of the summer, if that, which sucks. But I'm ready. I'm getting my weight down. I'm back on my meal prep, and I feel good. I mean, if they called next week and say, "Hey, a guy pulled out at 170 or a guy pulled out at lightweight," I'd be like, "All right, cool. Where am I going?"
Would you even be willing to come down to South Florida, or are you looking for something that's more like closer to your area?
Oh no, I'd come down to Florida in a
Yeah.
heartbeat. I just saw. I think Titan FC's having
Titan
fights
FC.
tomorrow
That's what I
night.
was gonna say. Yep, that's what I was gonna
Yeah.
say.
So I just saw that and I was like, wait, they're having fights? I would have fought somebody.
Yeah. And I don't know, that's a situation that would be perfect for Titan FC, because what better for them than to have Joe Giannetti on their show? You know what I'm saying? On the fight card. So I'm surprised. I mean, we got to get that together at least, man. If not, the UFC's throwing these events back to back, man, or they're throwing them, 3 within 8 days. They're talking about Fighter Island. But in the meantime, man, we need American fighters. I don't, the UFC needs to give you a shot if that's the case. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
So,
mean, it's one of those things too where it's like I get frustrated seeing current UFC fighters saying like, I'm not fighting until I get a full camp, da da da, and I get it, but it's like, don't pretend you can't train, because I'm training really hard in my garage that I whipped together when all this started. So
yeah.
like, it's one thing to be like, it's not a full camp. I only want to go in there 100%. I get it, but like some of these guys are like, oh, I'm not training at all because I can't. It's like you either can't or you don't want to try hard enough to make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like I said, I'm blessed enough to have a garage where I have the space to put stuff. But it's just one of those things. Like if you want to train that bad, you'll find a way to get it done.
I agree with that. I agree with that as well. Like for me personally, I mean, I've been slipping a little bit, but just even working out, keeping in shape, hitting the weights. But I got 2 5-gallon jugs of water. I do a whole entire workout regimen. I got my bike. I could run. I go down to the beach. I make it happen. Of course, when it comes to actually training MMA, it's a little bit different, I guess. You need bodies and whatnot for
Yeah.
grappling. But still, you know what I mean? I feel like where there's a will, there's a way. So I
I've been
side more
seeing
with you on
people
that.
make them out of cement. They're making like dumbbells out of cement with
Yeah.
the buckets. It's crazy.
Yeah. Have you looked at the prices at what weights are going for right now? It's crazy,
Yeah.
bro. Like
So
Go
I
ahead.
bought a treadmill, a bench set with the barbell and a ton of weights for $150. I originally hit this guy up because he posted selling a treadmill and some extra stuff. And I saw the weights in the picture and I was like, hey, I'll give you $150 for the bench set and the treadmill. I didn't know he had weights. And I showed up and his wife was like, he doesn't use it. It's wasting space in my house. I want it all gone. Take it. She gave us right now thousands of dollars worth of weights,
Yeah,
45s,
yeah.
35s, 25s. And
That's gold right now.
yeah, I was like, that's a gold mine. And then I was like, you know what? For deadlifts, like another set of 45s would be nice. People are selling for $2, $3 a pound.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah, man.
crazy.
It is crazy. My brother just recently bought those universal dumbbells. They go up to like 72.5 pounds. He paid like 200 and change, a while back before this whole thing happened. And I was thinking about getting a pair myself. And then now I started looking, they're like $1,000 or more. It's crazy. So I got to hold off.
I saw a guy on Craigslist he was doing one of those like buy my weight set. It was a deadlift bar. Buy my deadlift bar for like $200 or trade me for those dumbbells. And I was like, oh, I'll buy a pair and then I'll just go trade him for the deadlift set.
Yeah,
and then it was like $600. I was like, for dumbbells? Get out of here.
I know, it's crazy. I'm gonna hold off, man. I've been using just stuff around the house, man. Like I said, the 5-gallon jugs. I'm doing dips in my kitchen in the little corner.
I've been doing that stuff too.
Yeah.
I got my work ladder
bar
in the attic. I got it as my pull-up bar.
Nice. Yeah, exactly. Like you were saying though, man, where there's a will, there's a way. So if you got that fighter mindset, of course, like we just heard Justin Gaethje, not to even throw shade at Justin Gaethje because he's a legend, but he was even kind of talking about it in that type of fashion. I was surprised to hear some of the things that he was saying in regards to that Tony Ferguson fight. I don't know if you heard it in Joe Rogan, but the Joe Rogan experience. But I guess it was a little bit of a different situation. He's kind of reached the peak, and then he's got a guy like Tony Ferguson waiting for him and whatnot. But everyone's situation is a little different, I guess. But yeah, man. So 24 years old. The UFC is definitely the target goal right now, right? Get back in the UFC.
Always has been.
Yeah, and it's funny. Like I feel the situation with you, following you on Instagram and social media and whatnot. I feel like it's like the law of attraction, man. I really, when I follow you on there, man, it's like a lot of people I think would agree with me. You have that energy, man. Like you're just like a man on a mission. You want to get back in the UFC, and if there was betting odds on Joe Giannetti making it back to the UFC, you'd be a major favorite, in my opinion.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, it definitely has to happen.
It's been one of those things that, like I said, when I was overweight as a kid, I used to be depressed all the time. I was getting in fights with bullies because they were picking on me, and I was always down and out, and I was super negative. And I tell people all the time, and they think I'm crazy. I literally brainwashed myself into trying to become successful. Like I would go on YouTube. I still do it. I was doing it while I was working out an hour ago. I'd go on YouTube and I type in 2020 motivational speeches, and you got like movie scenes, and you got Arnold Schwarzenegger and all these other things. But if it's a movie I really like if it's a scene out of Rocky and it gets me going, and it's like, okay, now I can deadlift this 315 for 30 reps. Like it doesn't matter as long as it gets me going. And stuff like that. I've brainwashed myself into, I don't care what anybody else thinks. I have people that are like, dude, you could fight for Bellator right now. Cool. I love Bellator. I have friends that fight for Bellator. They're an awesome promotion. That's not my goal, and it never has been.
I respect that. I definitely respect that. And I feel similar to you on that. You know what I mean? Like if I was in your shoes, man, UFC is where it's at, man. That's where you really leave a legacy. Definitely got to respect that. And just to touch upon that one more time, man, you're only 24 years old. Like that's crazy, man. Like you said, there's so many guys in the UFC that they didn't even start training yet up at that age. So,
and it's been a positive thing for me lately. Like I said, just seeing guys like, oh yeah, I remember when I started training at 27, or guys that are like, I remember when I got signed to the UFC at 28, and like, I'm like, wow, it was only one, but I had one fight in the UFC by 22. Yeah. So it's like, I got to remind myself, like I have plenty of time, and I'm a perfectionist because I know I'll never reach it. It just keeps me going. But I got to like pump the brakes sometimes and be like, I've got so much time.
Imagine when you're 31, 32 years old, which in my opinion is right around when you're in your prime. In my opinion, the lightweight division, I think 32 years old, right around there, somewhere around there, and that's crazy. I mean, you're talking about almost a whole entire decade to train. I remember, think of this things like just me, like even when I did my little bit of training when I first started, just the things I learned in the first 3 to 4 years. And I would look back and I'd be like, man, look where I was a year ago. You know what I mean? Imagine a decade later.
Like I haven't even been training for 10 years, and I'm like, I have 10 more years before I'm in my prime.
Yeah.
That's wild.
And I know you train, back over where you're from and whatnot, but you definitely put some time over at AKA too, right?
Yeah, for sure. So I didn't go there for my last 2 camps just because I couldn't do it financially. I was working a ton, and I was catching up on a lot of debt. And honestly, that's the best part about this quarantine. I haven't been going out and doing anything. I've just been catching up on all that debt, and I'm almost squared away. So I'm definitely hoping to get out there for my next camp, and it's awesome working with all those guys.
Yeah, because DC was your coach, right? In The Ultimate Fighter, is that where you built that relationship?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and I mean, who else to learn from besides DC, man? Like I think that's about as good as it gets, really. It's amazing, and just having all those bodies to work with over there at AKA, right? Were you boys with Violent Bob Ross? I know he was training over there too, right?
That's my guy, yeah. So that's actually who I stayed with when I went out there. I'd stay with him and Deron Wynn.
He's over here though now, down the street from me by Top Team, I think, right?
Yep, he's at ATT. Yeah. I told him I got to take a trip down there when all this settles. 3-hour flight, and I'm down there.
I just saw him at the Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship about Hector Lombard, that event. He was over there. Yeah. So I saw him over there. Man, Top Team is an amazing facility too. Amazing gym. All right, so let me ask you this, because you seem to be like the type of fighter, man, that's really down to earth. You seem like you definitely know what's going on. I'm curious. It doesn't matter how you feel about it, but I'm curious what side of the fence you were on. Speaking of what I'm about to say, man, this guy, Conor McGregor, right? Somebody that really uses his mouthpiece when he's out there, and he's really cashed in on his mouthpiece. What are your thoughts as far as like hyping up fights, as far as like calling your shots? You know what I mean? Because in my opinion, there's no doubt that, if you know how to work your mouth, man, that might came off kind of bad. if you know how to, bump your gums, if you know how to talk shit, if you know how to like win a fight, grab the mic. If you want to fight this guy next, you know what I mean? I feel like the UFC gives guys opportunities if they make it happen, man. Call that guy out the right way, man. Talk, shit. How do you feel about that? Are you the type of guy that's like, I like to be humble, I like to train, or do you foresee yourself, after you win your first UFC bout, calling your shots out after you win that fight?
So my whole thing with all that is I don't care what you say to another fighter. You can say some of the nastiest stuff ever, but one, be ready to back it up. And two, just make sure it's authentic. I'm so sick of seeing fighters that go, I want to fight this guy, but he's a nice guy and I have no problem with him. So I'm going to say the worst stuff I can to make him angry. And it's like, you can say stuff to get him angry so he'll fight you, but be ready to back it up, because if he kicks your ass, it's going to look bad. And two, you got to bite down and be real about it, because now you're the bad guy if you make that argument. Like, I don't have beef with a lot of fighters. Paddy Pimblett, per se, is one of them. Anything I say to Paddy Pimblett is real. I do not like him. If you see me smack talking a fighter, it's because we actually have beef. If I want to fight a guy because he's above me in the rankings, I'm going to say, hey, I think I'm better than you. We should fight so I can take your spot.
Yeah.
And even if it's Muhammad Ali effect. Though.
Yeah. And even if it's just like how you said, man, I side with even just doing that rather than doing nothing, because if sometimes, you see these fighters call certain fighters out, and at least half of the time, man, the UFC is willing to help you out with that. So, and if you're able to call your shots and pick your fights, man, it could help with your career. Not like you're nitpicking easy fights or whatnot, but you know what I'm saying? Like, you can, you work your way through the rankings and whatnot. I think it goes a long way.
You're doing the job for him. And I mean, if somebody came to me and said, hey, I'm going to do your job for you, I'd be like, sure, go ahead.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, but it's interesting to hear, different people's perspectives on that, because I'll be honest, like, I'm the type of guy, right? I'm never going to step foot in the octagon. Obviously, at this point in my life, I'm 31 years old, whatever. I used to train a little bit here and there. But if I ever was a UFC fighter personally, I like to talk shit. I grew up in a family where everyone talks shit, man. That's how it is. Like, even my mom likes to bust balls. You know what I mean? That's the type of family I grew up in. So it's like, if I ever had that chance, bro, I would be going crazy. I'd be like Conor McGregor. I even think I could do it better than him at times. I think you could even be more ruthless. I would take like a Conor McGregor, mix it up with Mike Tyson. Remember Mike Tyson, man, at those press conferences? Like,
people couldn't handle that nowadays.
I know. I mean, I guess that, it's one way to look at it too. I don't know if people could handle it, right? They might paint you with the bad brush, right? They may try to make you look bad. But
people look back on that stuff and they love it. They're like, remember when he said this, this, and this? And it's just, I always think, can you imagine if he said that tomorrow?
Yeah. It is a little bit different, right? The world has changed.
People would lose it.
Yeah. But you know what? When I watch Mike Tyson, man, especially, it gives me chills. To this day, I could watch the same video I've seen 100 times. When I watch him just going crazy, talking crap, when you see him squaring up with Lennox Lewis and just, he doesn't even care. He's just stepping down, charging him. It gives me chills, man. I'm like, without a doubt, he was my most favorite boxer of all time, Mike Tyson. But
have you seen his video talking about getting in the ring, the walkout? What's going on through his head?
Yeah, definitely.
It's authentic though. That's why I like it. He's talking about, listen, I've had nightmares about this man beating me in front of everybody that I love. When I'm walking out, I'm terrified. I'm so scared of this guy. But when I get in there, I'm a god. You can't touch me.
Yeah, man.
And that's real, because you can see it when he gets in there. He's in there killing people.
Definitely. Yeah, Mike Tyson is a very interesting fella. Even when I was a big fan of his when I was a kid, I kind of looked at him a little bit different. I thought he was just a ferocious animal. But as you've seen throughout the years, man, he's really intellectual. He's like a really smart guy, man. He really is in his own right, and I relate to him in a lot more ways. He's like the type of guy that's big into like conquerors, and warfare, fighting, and that's something that I love. I sometimes I talk to other people, they think I'm crazy because I kind of base everything around that type of stuff. You know what I mean?
It's the warrior mentality.
Yeah. But yeah, man, I've actually grown to even like Mike Tyson more as he's, as he's been retired and he's been an older fella than back when he was younger, man. I really appreciate him now more than ever. But just to talk about Mike Tyson, he's talking about potentially making a return.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how they're going to do that. I think I saw something. Tyson Fury said yes to an exhibition match with him.
Oh man, I don't know if I want to see that though.
I definitely don't want to see that.
Yeah, Fury, man. Fury's probably my favorite boxer in the game right now, without a doubt, for sure. He's my favorite boxer in the game. What he did to Deontay Wilder, man, that was special.
I could never. If somebody told me, hey, your game plan is to stand right in front of him and walk him down, I'd be like, are you sure? You want me to do something else?
Yeah, man. How crazy is that, right? Because Tyson Fury was saying that's what he was going to do, and he actually was dead serious. He wasn't bluffing in the least bit. He was dead serious. He put that weight on, and he was going to go in there and he was going to attack.
And he weighed on him. Every time they clinched, he'd make sure he would lean on him, get him a little bit more tired. And you could see it. He was fading fast.
Yeah, definitely. Like another thing too, man, like that first fight that they had, I feel like a lot of people disrespected Tyson Fury. I thought that he won basically every single round in that fight, in my opinion. Even the fight that he got knocked down in. I mean, who gets knocked down like that, gets back up, and then literally just starts like styling on Wilder once again, I mean, he was just more of
that impressed me. Like, getting dropped, getting up, and coming at him. I thought, he'd step back, jab, and move right in his face.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's really crazy. So your base is jiu-jitsu though, correct? You're more of a jiu-jitsu guy, or you started out as a jiu-jitsu guy?
I started out wrestling, and then I went into jiu-jitsu, and that's where I kind of like got my base.
Nice. Yeah, man, because I definitely notice, when I watch your fights, the jiu-jitsu is nasty, pulling off subs left and right. What's your favorite submission?
One knockout.
Yeah.
Favorite submission? I'd say a Darce.
Darce. Nice.
So when I was coming up, training, even before I was training, before I trained with Khabib, I used to be a giant Tony Ferguson fan. And I remember they would always talk about his Darce chokes and how he has like the most in the octagon. And I was like, I'm going to break that record. I'm going to get way more Darces than this dude. And he keeps getting them. I'm like, damn.
Yeah, he does. The Darce is a nasty choke, man. And they say typically it helps to have longer arms. You got pretty long arms, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it does help. We got JT MMA. He's asking the question: what's your favorite UFC KO and sub? Let's go with let's go with both. What's your favorite knockout and sub if you could pull it off?
My favorite knockout. It's a tie between Edson Barboza's wheel kick and Yair Rodriguez's little back elbow.
Oh yeah, man! I saw both those live, not in person, but you know what I mean. I was watching those live, and that was crazy. That back elbow was ridiculous because he was about to lose that fight too, right?
I thought it was a headbutt.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
me and my buddies were arguing. I was like, he's gonna get DQ'd. He's gonna get DQ'd, and then they replayed it, and it's just a little bit of the elbow.
Yeah, I actually, because part of what I do is like I'm an MMA capper. Like I give picks out to people and whatnot. People pay for them, whatever. But that was actually one of my plays that night was Yair Rodriguez.
You were stressed.
Dude, no, I already threw the towel in. Like at that point, like I already lost that bet. I forget exactly what all my plays in the night. I had like 3 plays. I forget if I was doing good in the night. But I remember I was like, I lost that one. That one's over. And then all of a sudden at the end of the fight, I'm like, what the hell just happened? That was just ridiculous. I mean, I think there was like 2-3 seconds. I don't even know what was on the clock. And it's just to pull that off. Like, what is that?
Yeah, that was madness. And I think he took that fight on like a week's notice, didn't he? It was super last minute.
I forget. Yeah, forget. But he's a nasty dude, man. He really is a dangerous fighter, man. He's a different type of guy, Yair. You saw him in that last fight against Jeremy Stevens too, man. In the first round, he looked nasty in the first round. Needs to work on the cardio, maybe. I don't know, but he's a talented dude.
Yeah, it's not easy throwing that spinning stuff for a whole fight.
Right? Yeah, that's the thing. He's so wild. He's so wild, man. Well, I don't want to keep you, man. I don't know if I'm keeping you or whatnot, but at 9 o'clock we got Bruce Leroy. You know about Bruce Leroy, Alex Caceres?
I do. I watched him on Tough, man. I binge watched all of them. I watched his season live, though.
Yeah. It's funny, man. Yeah, it's going to be exciting to catch up with him. We're aiming around 9, so we still got time. But, Bruce Leroy is a guy. I used to watch him, bro, on YouTube, his street fight videos.
Yeah,
I don't
the
know if you ever
street
saw
fights.
Street fight videos. Way before I even saw him in the Ultimate Fighter show, man. Me and my brother used to love that stuff. And that was just south of me, I grew up in Coral Springs. And all that stuff was just south of me, yeah. So it's crazy, Kimbo and all that. Was there any type of stuff going on like that over in Massachusetts? Like a little street fight type thing?
So one of my buddies that I'm super close with, he was at one of Kimbo Slice's street fights when Kimbo fought a Boston police officer.
Oh, dude, of course. The most epic fight.
Yeah. So my buddy was there. He was a teenager and he had like no idea like what he got himself into. And he said it was the craziest thing he'd ever seen.
Dude, that's priceless, bro. That's like an iconic time, bro. Like that was Kimbo's first loss. So like back in the day when we were kids, like everyone thought Kimbo was indestructible. Like he couldn't lose because he was just killing all those guys, in the alleys by the boat, the boating yards and whatever. But yeah, that cop, he had some MMA experience, right? I think he even fought in the UFC one time, did he?
I don't know if he fought in the UFC, but he's definitely fought.
I'm about 90% sure that he fought way back in the day, and on one of those cards. I may be wrong.
He might have. He might have. Yeah. Old school UFC. You might be right.
Yeah, I think he did, and he lost. I think. I don't know. I forget if he won or lost, but that was a crazy fight, and they threw down for like almost an hour straight. Man.
It was long. It was long.
Oh my God. Imagine
I
being that
remember
situation.
I watched that for the first time and I was like, what did they title it? It was like Kimbo versus Boston PD or something like that. And I was like, this is a Boston cop. I was like, this is crazy.
Oh man. Yeah, man. That dude was serious. That was a serious fight. This guy, MMA Island, says, Joe, can you say Leroy Jenkins very loudly? I believe that's like an inside joke, no?
I don't know, man. I've
No?
seen the old Leroy Jenkins videos.
I'm not that familiar. I'm not familiar.
It's
But
what game is it? It's one of those online games, World of Warcraft, I think.
okay.
And it was like these kids trying to raid something. I just saw it the other day. Somebody posted it. It was from like 15 years ago.
That's funny. So all right, so oh, how about this? Okay, JTMMA. The Barbosa Edom wheel kick, ruthless on them Scousers. He goes, they're both 45ers. Would Joe ever be interested in that fight? I'm not really sure who he's referring to.
In Barboza and Edom?
Maybe, yeah, maybe he's talking about those guys, I guess. How about Barboza, right? Barboza just dropped down to featherweight. How do you feel about squaring up with Barboza? I guess that's what he's asking.
Terrified. Absolutely
Yeah.
terrified. When he announced he was going to 45, I texted all my buddies in our group chat and I said, sweet, I never have to fight this guy unless he comes back up.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
You know, like I'm down to fight anybody, but like that's one of those fights, a lot like Tony Ferguson, where I would spend a majority of the camp mentally telling myself, this is going to be the worst thing you're ever about to experience.
Yeah.
And like if I can come
to
if I can come to terms with that, then I can fight him. Like Gaethje talked about it with the Ferguson fight. Like he said, I'm going to break my nose. My nose is getting broken.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. I believe he even wanted it to get broken. Right?
Yeah,
That's the mindset you got to get. Yeah, those guys are crazy, right? And Barbosa looked very good in his featherweight debut. I believe he won that fight. In my opinion, I thought he won at least the first and second, I believe, and then he lost that third round. But you know, the judges,
it was close.
man,
I thought he took it.
Mm-hmm. The judges, man, and that card, they were bad that whole night, man. Even Angela Hill, I felt bad for Angela Hill. She looked very good in that fight. You know, in that fight with Claudia Gadelha, I thought she won. I forget what rounds, but I thought she won two of them.
I thought she won too.
Mm-hmm. And there was another one too, man. The Song Yadong fight. Song Yadong
with
versus
Cheeto.
Cheeto, man. That was a tough fight, but you know, I thought Cheeto was the aggressor in there.
Yeah, he's not happy about it. I keep seeing him post stuff about it.
Yeah. And Cheeto's really been putting it together, man. He's a solid fighter.
He's good.
Yeah, man. Well, you know, I really appreciate you coming on, man, and I would definitely love for you to come on sometime down the future. You know, when we got some fight news, if you're ever willing to come back on, yeah. And then especially once you know when you're back in the UFC and you get that first victory, bro, we'll do a celebratory interview. You know that's on the horizon. So, and just to give you some background over here, like this is all relatively new to me, man. This is the 4th episode I've done. So you know I'm working on all this stuff too, man, but expect big things from me over here, man. I'll build up the following, and I'm really putting a lot of time into this over here too. So
I appreciate it. I mean, the whole layout looks great, so I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, I appreciate you. And you were one of the main guys I wanted to have on here, man, for a long time, and I wanted to catch up with you. I feel like you're an interesting character, man, in the fight game, and there's some big things to come from you. So it was great having you on.
Can't wait to get back in there.
Yeah, man. All right, brother. Well, thanks for coming on, and you know, make sure you get those 2-a-days in.
I will. No more 1-a-days.
Yeah, man. All right,
have a good one.
I'll talk to you later, man. Peace.
Peace.
There you guys have it, man. Joe Giannetti, man. That was good, man. That was good, man. It was great catching up with Joe. Like I said, man, he's an interesting fella, man. I'm a big fan of his. I cannot wait to see his next fight. Cannot wait to see him make his way back into the UFC because everybody knows, you know, that's the route that he's going. Like I said, man, with Joe, if you guys are not familiar with him, if you follow him, man, he's the type of guy, man. It's like the law of attraction. That guy, you know, he's on a one-way track and he's headed back to the UFC. You could tell, man, by the way that he carries himself. And like I said, 24 years old. That guy's going to be he already is a savage, but imagine him when he's 30 years old. Give that guy another 6 years of training. Legit, man. Joe Giannetti. So, yeah, man, we got another fighter, man, coming up shortly. So I'm going to check in with him, but he's supposed to be coming on around 9. I'll see if he wants to come on early. And we got Bruce Leroy, Alex Caceres, a very entertaining fighter. I'm sure you guys are all well versed with Alex Caceres, man. And I'm going to check up on him here in a second. But yeah, man, there's a lot to talk about. Obviously, man, we got Fight Night in the Apex Center. We got Tyron Woodley, Gilbert Burns. Which fight are you guys looking most forward to on the fight card? I already said clearly for me, it's Woodley versus Burns. Is there another fight that you guys are looking forward to? Is there a sleeper fight on this card? I mean, I see a couple potential sleeper fights. some young prospects. I know a lot of you guys get excited when Mackenzie Dern steps in there, and that's an interesting fight. She's like a 4-1 favorite, and meanwhile, she's coming off a horrible fight against Amanda Ribas. I saw that fight live in Tampa, but Amanda Ribas has shown that she's a savage. She's a really good fighter, so maybe not as much shame into that loss, But Mackenzie Dern minus 400, yeah. JT MMA. The fight I actually meant earlier was Gianneti versus Caceres. That would have been a good question, man. That would have been a good question. The Spike Carlisle fight, huh? That is a good fight. That's a very good fight, man. Two very skilled opponents in there, man. Billy Quarantillo is an excellent fighter too, man. I like that guy. I'm looking forward to seeing the Alpha Ginger again. Yeah, man. See, a lot of people on it. I didn't pick him to win that fight on my picks. I was back and forth on that fight though, but if you look at the odds on that fight, the value is probably on the Ginger, not Billy, because Billy is the favorite. I'm surprised. I thought that fight would be more like a pick'em. I slightly edge Billy, but the line is it's a little bit more on Billy Q. But yeah, we do have Bruce Leroy coming on relatively shortly. Relatively shortly. Let me shoot him a message. Let's see what he's doing right now. Shot him a message. So just checked in with Bruce Leroy. Definitely looking forward to this conversation, man. If you guys are not familiar with Bruce Leroy, we're going to talk about this stuff. But Bruce Leroy is a guy, he was street fighting in Miami way back when he was a little kid, man. I can't wait to find out more about that. I want to see if, did he even have, formal training? I believe he did, because he was throwing up some nasty jiu-jitsu moves when he was out there fighting in the backyards. But very interesting character. I saw him on Instagram Live earlier. And, he's a very interesting character, man. He was talking about some bold things that I definitely want to touch upon here when he comes on. 1 second. But yeah, we'll get Bruce in here shortly. In the meantime, man, let's keep looking at this card. So like I touched upon the Mackenzie Dern fight. How about the Daniel Rodriguez versus Gabriel Green fight? That's a fight that I didn't get to break down on, on my breakdown video, because it was a short notice fight, right? Kevin Holland pulled out with the injury. I was a little surprised to see that, being that Kevin Holland just fought, and then he took the fight. So I don't know exactly the details upon that, but I was really on Kevin Holland in that fight. But I know he is hurt. But, I watched a lot of fight footage. I crammed a lot of fight footage on that guy, Gabriel Green. Was not impressed with his striking, man. The guy is very slow on the feet. He's very slow with the striking, but somehow he continues to prevail, man. I saw fights where he was getting taken down quite easily, so his takedown defense isn't that good either. But he would get back to his feet, and he would end up actually pulling that fight off, even when he was losing. So the guy is like one of those types of guys that he's never down and out. Anytime he's still in the fight at any time. And then Daniel Rodriguez really didn't overly impress me in the beginning of that Tim Means fight. He did end up pulling off that nasty guillotine. That was impressive. But as far as the overall fight, as far as the striking goes and whatnot, it wasn't like something that I wanted to jump on around minus 300. I thought about maybe throwing him in a parlay or whatnot. But as of now, I have not done that. And yeah, man, but a lot of exciting fights. Tim Elliott is throwing down. I'm very, very interested in this card, man. It's always good to have fights, period, right? With what's going on right now. So, breaking news. Robert Whitaker versus Till, verbal agreement. That'd be a nice fight, man. Got to lean with Whitaker in that fight. Till coming off a victory where he really lost the fight. And I don't know, man. Till has to show me something, before I could really start getting behind him, especially against a guy like Robert Whitaker. Robert Whitaker is an ex-champion. He's an amazing fighter, coming off a tough loss, but he lost to Israel Adesanya. Israel Adesanya is, he's the middleweight kingpin right now, so no real shame in that. Quincy Pinoa. I parlayed Rodriguez and Kenny. Kenny, man, Kenny's a solid fighter, man. I think Kenny pulls that fight off. So you threw him with Rodriguez. Interesting. What did you get Rodriguez at? About a minus 300? Oh, interesting, huh? James Krause did, he took a back seat in the Elliott Royval. That's right, huh? Because he messes with both those guys. So interesting. I thought that he still would have backed up Elliott regardless because he's been rolling with Elliott for a long time, but I guess he wanted to go the professional route there. Didn't want to step on anybody's toes, make them feel uncomfortable. So that's respectable, man. I could foresee a guy like James Krause doing something like that, man. That guy is legit. He's by the book, real classy dude. So cheers to him for doing that. You guys, I want to touch upon something. Well, we got a second here while we wait for Alex Caceres, Bruce Leroy to join us. I usually don't like to hate, man, and talk crap, but I want to talk about something for a second. I've been noticing, I've been seeing sponsors like on my Instagram, like promoted ads that people are paying for, talking about or trying to get me to follow them. And I see these guys out here that are supposedly they're MMA cappers. It's ridiculous. I think you guys probably know who I'm talking about because I'm sure you guys get those ads too. The only reason why I'm bringing this up, man, is I hope that you guys are being careful out there because I've looked at some of these guys, man. I've looked at their resumes or I've looked at their page and what they got going on. And it's a complete joke. The fact that these guys even charge for picks. And not only do they charge for picks, man, they're paying UFC fighters to promote their stuff. And it's kind of dangerous because the MMA betting world, man, it's relatively new to a lot of people. And people are going to think these guys are legit and people are going to pay these guys. I see these guys, man, they supposedly they're MMA cappers, but they're also NFL cappers and they're also NBA cappers and they're also college football cappers and they're also NHL, whatever, all of it. You know what I mean? And I call BS on that. If you're a real true professional, if you're really winning long-term, there ain't no way that you're betting all of those different sports professionally. I don't believe it. I don't believe it for a second. There's no way that you put enough time into the game of whatever you're specializing. There's no way you can do that, specializing in 5 to 6 sports. And these dudes are so unprofessional, man. They're paying for followers. They're, it's just a joke, man. And I hope that none of you guys that are listening to this right now are that dumb to pay those types of guys for picks. It's an absolute joke. So just wanted to touch upon that here for a second because I was looking at one today. I saw a UFC fighter promote this guy. And I'm like looking at this guy's page. I'm like, this is ridiculous, man. This legit MMA UFC fighter is promoting this guy. That guy's obviously the guy who I'm talking about obviously paid that UFC fighter because why would this guy promote him? It was just an absolute sham. So be careful with that. Be careful with that. Because there is other MMA cappers out here, but we're very few and far between. There's not a lot of guys profiting long term like I have been doing for years. And, I've been talking to a lot of you guys I've been working with too. And nothing, it's nothing wrong with it, but I've been seeing the way that some of you guys make bets, talking with you guys. And, you can't win long-term betting on every single fight. You can't win long-term betting on certain types of fighters in those types of situations. And, I try to share my knowledge with you guys when you guys ask questions, people that are working with me. And it is what it is, What do you think? Let's see. Yeah, we got a couple minutes left, man. Bruce Leroy should be coming in, brother. Bruce Leroy will be coming on any minute. We got about 2 minutes. So hang tight, man. We got Bruce Leroy, Alex Caceres, man. Have you guys been watching Bruce Leroy from back in the day? Or you guys MMA casuals, man? Because Bruce Leroy's been around for a while now. He's an OG in the game. Interesting fella. He's got a big fight coming up, man. UFC 250. He's taking on Chase Hooper. We got to talk about that fight. That's a very interesting fight. A lot of people are high in the kid Chase Hooper. I don't know if you guys have looked at the line at all, but very interesting, man. He'll be coming on here any minute. Reaching out to him right now. Do you guys have any questions for Bruce Leroy? Get them ready, man. Have them ready. I'll pull them up. Hooper nearly was out in his contender series about sketchy fight. Would say it's even bookie. So yeah, no, I agree with you 100%, man. Hooper was getting worked in that fight. And even in the UFC, man, he's been tagged up. You know, his striking is very suspect. He's a jiu-jitsu practitioner. He's a legit BJJ practitioner. He's nasty. He's like a new age type of BJJ fighter. And he could definitely pull off the sub. But as far as the striking goes, you know, if you're able to stuff his wild takedowns and scrambles and you keep it standing, you know what I mean? He could definitely drop the ball. I could see some guys tagging him up, and eventually I could see him getting knocked out. But, you know, he is a nasty fighter. I parlayed Chito, Jocko, and Baez. I had it. Oh, man, yeah. That's right. They robbed you on that. Vera won that fight, man. Vera won that fight. It's yeah, that wasn't right, man. I talked about that with Joe a little bit earlier. You know, it was a sad thing that night. There was 3 people that got robbed: Angela Hill, Chito Vera, and Edson Barbosa. So, yeah, man, the judges are horrible, bro. The judges really are bad. They got to clean it up. You know, I don't know what they're waiting on to, you know, to do that. They need to get guys that are ex-fighters, throw the ex-fighters in there. But, you know, obviously there's something going on, man, where they're just throwing in these people. I guess there's a shortage of people that want to do the job. Maybe it doesn't pay. You know, you would think there's a lot of fight fans that would love to do that job, right? So, you know, I've looked into it a little bit, you know, as far as refereeing and being a judge, and you got to be certified and whatnot. Maybe it's, you know, it's something that I probably could never do at this point in time because I already have my history as far as being an MMA capper. That wouldn't be a good look, being a judge and an MMA capper. In fact, I don't think I even have an option as far as that goes. Maybe as far as being a referee at this point, I probably couldn't do that either, but I got other things going on. So, you know, if anybody wants to hop in, man, I'll open up the show until Bruce gets here. We could do that as well. I'm going to paste the link here. And Bruce will be over shortly. Alex Caceres. In the meantime, if somebody wants to come in and chat it up, you guys are more than welcome. There's the link. And I could bring you in. We could talk UFC 250. We could talk UFC Fight Night, Apex Center, Woodley versus Burns. And we could talk whatever you guys want, man. It's going to be exciting, man. A couple days, huh? All right, this Saturday, man. Woodley versus Burns. You know, it's funny, man. Some people in particular were almost insulted that I picked against Woodley. It's funny, you know, I feel like people either hate Woodley or they love Woodley. You know what I mean? It's kind of like no in between. I'm going to bring on Arseny.
Hey, what's going on, man? What's up?
What up, Ars?
I'm good.
Yo, man, how you doing?
Good, man. I'm excited for this weekend. Looking forward to the fight.
Yeah, man. Me too. You know, we had a week break in between, and now we got the fights taking place again. It's definitely exciting, right?
Yeah, dude. A lot of interesting stuff. I don't know if you saw, but it was funny. Speaking of Woodley, he's like on hot boxing with Mike Tyson tonight. So so we'll see.
Man,
maybe he's gonna bust out those raps.
No, I hope not. Hopefully for everybody's ears, he doesn't. Oh my God.
Yo, did you see that? Did you see that video? I saw it like of Shaq submitting those. He goes to this like jiu-jitsu studio and he's like submits these 3 black belts in like, I kid you not, under like 20 seconds.
Really? Was this new or was this an older?
Yeah, this is just brand new. So I'm sure if you just Google Shaq, it was like on like BJJ.com or something.
Yeah.
He just like steamrolls these guys.
Well, like, I know. I mean, Shaq's been training BJJ for a long time. You know, he's been really, you know, doing his thing for a long time.
I'm surprised no one tried to like guillotine him from the bottom or try to like do that. Maybe even that what is that called? That choke, the Ezekiel choke or something. Because I mean, obviously,
the Ezekiel.
Yeah. Maybe try to do that from the bottom because I mean, he just kind of embarrassed. I don't know, man. I wouldn't even want to be on video if I was a black belt and he just steamrolled me. I'd be like, oh, don't put me in the video. Black out my face.
Do you know, is Shaq ranked as far as like his belt? I wonder if he has a belt. Does he have? I wonder if he has.
I think they just said in the video that it's from his new show called like Shaq's Life, or I don't remember, Life of Shaq or whatever. And they just said that he trained a little bit of jiu-jitsu, but again he just goes in there. I mean, obviously he just used his size to do that, but still I was kind of surprised that, you know, especially if you're like a black belt, that, you know, it was like literally, I kid you, like 10 seconds. Like 10 seconds, he just kind of brings them down, weighs them out. I think he put his shoulder towards their neck and kind of just put the pressure on their neck, and that's it. They just tapped like 5 seconds, like if some of them were like 5 seconds, and I'm like, whoa, like I don't know.
I'm gonna pull that up right now. I got to give it a peek.
Check it out.
I don't know if I can. You said it was under what was it under? For everybody that's watching too. Where is it? Where's it posted?
Now. I saw like Shaq Jiu-Jitsu. So like Jiu-Jitsu. Yeah, wait. 2 days ago. Oh yeah, it was like 2 days ago. So if you just Google Shaq Jiu-Jitsu, you see visits BJJ Academy, taps out 2 BJJ black belts.
Oh, look at him, huh? I wonder who he tapped out. Shaq takes on the octagon. Wait, that's not it, is it? Oh no, I'm watching him grapple with Forrest Griffin. That was a long time ago.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. Yeah. I'll message you.
Can you post it in the chat? You could probably post a link right in the chat for everybody to see.
Oh, okay, so under live comment. Oh yeah, when we put that.
Yeah.
Post it. How do I post it? I was gonna post. I see it in the.
Everybody can watch that. Yeah, Shaq is a real fighter, man. It's crazy because, you know, he's I think you put it in the private chats though.
Well, let me see if I can put it in the live comments.
Can you go on YouTube and you could put
okay, comments. Yeah, I'll put it in the I'll put it in there. I just didn't want to hear the volume twice, so let's check it out.
Got you. Just hit the mute. Roosevelt Roberts said he's getting to finish 100%, huh? I don't know, man. He's got a tough opponent in front of him. Brock Weaver don't play a game, so I mean, Roberts is a nasty striker. He's a nasty fighter, but you know his opponent's going to be game. I'll tell you that much. So we'll see if he gets to finish there. Quincy said, Quincy, where did he say that? Instagram video or something? Shaq versus Ngannou. You know, it's funny actually. A fighter that Shaq always talked about fighting was the giant Japanese fighter. Come on, somebody comment his name if you guys know who I'm talking about. Comment below. There was a Japanese fighter.
Hongman Choi.
Yes.
Yeah, the guy that Fedor beat. Yeah, I remember that. Hongman Choi. Man, he's a big dude. Dude, his head is like the size of like maybe like a big dude's body. Like his head is just like a bowling ball, man.
Yeah, right. Like a torso.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He's like he's just huge dude, man.
Yeah.
Like the Giants.
For those of you guys that are just tuning in, we're just waiting on Alex Caceres, Bruce Leroy. We just talked with Joe Giannetti not too long ago. That was an excellent take. Actually, in my opinion, that was the best interview that I've done. I enjoyed that one more than anybody that I've done, you know, including some of these big name UFC fighters, man. I really like that guy, Joe Giannetti. I can't wait to see him fight back in the octagon. And it's cool to see a fighter that's a down-to-earth, real dude, you know, that's really grinding, man, and training, and he's working his way back into the UFC. So, and, you know, it was interesting too, man. I don't know if you guys heard him. He said that he's not even interested in going to Bellator. He don't even care if Bellator's throwing contracts at him. He is straight up waiting to go back into the UFC, man, back into the octagon. So you got to admire him, man. He's a man on a mission, you know. But in the meantime, we're waiting on Bruce Leroy. And, yeah, he should be here shortly. He's making some one of those green shakes, you know, spinach, kale, all that stuff. Carrots. He's making a nice shake. What are you up to, Arseny? What do you got going on tonight?
Now I'm just gonna probably work out after this.
Nice. Late night, huh?
What's up?
Late night workout, huh?
Yeah. Just gonna go to the park, like, you know, pull-ups, dips, all that.
Do you ever have trouble sleeping after you work out late?
No, not too bad. I mean, sometimes as long as you like drink water, or, like drink a protein shake, and then like, you know, read a little bit, and then you know, especially if you read a little bit, then it's good. And just like stretch out, because man, like I don't know about you, but like I feel like I have to stretch. If I don't stretch after a workout, especially like a hard workout, that's it. The next morning you're just dead. Like you can't move your legs or whatever you did the night before. I mean, I feel like stretching is so important.
The thing is, for me though, man, when I work out late, what happens is my heart rate doesn't go down. For some reason, my heart rate will stay accelerated for like, you know, for hours or whatnot. And I have a really strong heart, man. I got a really low resting heart rate, man. Really, really low, like in the 70s or whatnot. But like when I work out, it's not as bad now, but when I was younger in college, man, I'd work out like 8, 9 o'clock. And I didn't realize what the problem was, man. But I'd be in my sleep trying to go to bed, and my body would still be all worked up. and I'd be like jolting in my sleep. You know what I mean? Like waking up, like my heart was racing. And I finally found out it was because I was working out too late. They say that you should at least work out 4 to 5 hours before you go to bed. And I was working out like 10, 11 o'clock at night, you know, but it depends on the person.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, and I saw something like, I think Elon was talking about it with Joe Rogan, that like you're not supposed to eat like four hours or something, or 2 hours before you head to bed too, because like the food's not going to digest. I mean, I
don't have a problem with though. I fill my belly up and pass right out. For me, I'm good on that. But
yeah. I mean, I don't know how much, like, you know, sometimes I don't know how much is that, like how much of that is science, or if it's just kind of like, I mean, I don't know, but I'm definitely excited. You know what fight I'm excited for? You know, I know a lot of people don't like heavyweights throwing down, but I like heavyweights throwing down. I know sometimes it doesn't look like they have the best technique, and sometimes they just gas pretty fast. But it's always fun to see. I feel like when you watch heavyweights fight, you have that anticipation that any second someone could go to sleep.
Yeah. So, and the thing is with the heavyweight fight is that at the end of the day, man, like, you know, the best heavyweight fighter in the world is the baddest man on the planet. You know what I mean? It's
exactly. Like, you think about that, like those guys, like you know, right now it's Stipe, but you know, he's literally like the toughest dude, you know, in the world. So
and just to touch more upon that, like for those of you guys that don't train, I'm telling you guys, like if you don't train and what was I gonna say? If you don't train and then you fight, what were we saying? What were you saying a second ago?
Oh, the heavyweight champion is like the toughest.
Oh, all right. Sorry, exactly. Yeah, to touch upon that. All right. So if you go in the gym, you start training. If you fight or you train with somebody that weighs 30, 40 more pounds than you, you might be the better fighter in your mind. You might be the superior athlete. But I'm telling you, like you'll feel that weight. You'll feel their weight in there. It makes a major difference. So like if you're thinking about your favorite fighter, like he's a bantamweight fighter, and you're like, oh, he'll go in there and he'll whoop these guys up. He's so skilled. I'm telling you, it makes a big difference. You take that bantamweight fighter, you throw him in a cage with any of those lightweights, even those lightweights that you think are scrubs, like some of those lower tier UFC fighters, I'm telling you, like he's going to get worked almost all the time. He's going to get worked. So weight makes a big difference. And that, but back to your point of being like the heavyweight fighters, are they the best fighters, you know, on the planet? The heavyweight champion is the baddest man on the planet, period. So,
yeah. And it's fun. I think why I like this fight is Blagoy has a pretty sick chin. Like I thought Lewis was going to put him out, honestly, because Lewis did hit him with some hard shots. I actually thought, I don't know, maybe I'm not remembering correctly. I thought that Blagoy might have won that fight, but I don't even remember.
The Derek Lewis?
Yeah, the Derek Lewis fight.
I thought that he won that fight, and that was one of my bets that night. That was one of my plays that night, and I lost it, and I was actually really annoyed. Actually, I don't know if it was I think it was a play. Yeah, it was a play. I remember being annoyed that he lost that fight. Yeah,
I thought that he won that. And but still, like I mean, his chin, Blagoy's chin is incredible, and Sakai, I mean, he has some nasty power. So I mean,
he does.
Yeah. Who did he put out? He put out a couple. I think he has back-to-back finishes. He put out a couple people back-to-back.
I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it right now. And he has a lot of power in his hands. So he's coming off knockout, and Marcin Tybura took out Tybura in the first round. He took out Chase Sherman in the third round, finished him. And the Dana White's Contender Series fight that he had back in 2018 against Marcos Conrado, he finished him in the second round with his hands. You know, his hands do carry a lot of power. His only loss that he's ever had, the only time he's ever tasted defeat was against Czech Congo, and that was over in Bellator 179. So, you know, he did have, you know what's a little sketchy about him? That fight against Andrei Arlovsky that he had, not his most recent fight, but the fight that was before that. That was a split decision fight that could have gone either way. And, you know, he looked like he kind of slowed down in the later rounds. So you got to kind of worry about that. But Blagoy kind of doesn't have the best cardio either. Hold on one second. Let me see if this, I don't think this is Bruce Leroy. Let me see. What's up, Taija Bay?
What's up, man? I'm not Leroy though.
Oh, you're not Bruce Leroy? That's all right, bro. You could join us anyway. But what's going on, bro? What's your name? Or what do you go by?
Man? Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah.
Huh?
What do you go by? Hey, Arseny, if it's cool, I'm going to talk to Taj for a second. I'll talk to him, and we'll have Bruce Leroy. We'll catch up in a little bit too, Arseny, all right? All right, brother. What's up, brother? Taj, what do you go by? Taj, is it? Taj Bay?
Yeah.
So what's up, brother? What are you looking forward to? What do you want to talk about in regards to the fight game?
Nah, I'm just watching your picks, man, for the most part. So
Okay.
that's
Got you.
pretty cool.
Any
Yeah,
fight in
yeah.
particular that you're looking forward to on the card?
That's tough to say. I like all the fights. But I want to see the main event. I want to see T Wood, how he comes back. I don't think he can come back. I really like. I think I like Burns under the spot.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think he can press the action a little bit more. And there's a Kamaru showed already how to deal with T Wood. So it's kind of like you're looking at him and like what he knows what you need to do. There's a plan already in place, and he's not going to be this active. Like, plus he's not that motivated at this stage of his career. Is like, what do you do now? And so I'm looking at Burns, and then I see on the other hand so much action on T Wood. I'm like, what's going on?
I know.
That just doesn't make any sense to me.
I know. I would not feel comfortable touching him at where the line is. You know what I mean? Knowing how dangerous Gilbert is, I mean, I couldn't feel comfortable touching that line. You know what I mean? Because you know what's going to happen. As soon as both of them step down in the octagon, both of them are sitting there, they're looking across from each other. Sometimes people think of the name, they're like, oh, this guy's going to win or whatnot. But think about that feeling that you get right when they're getting announced, and you're like, oh, damn, he's got to fight Gilbert Burns right now. You know what I mean? And then you start to realize, like, this fight can go any way. You know what I mean? As soon as they start to engage. And I think that's how it's going to be, bro, because Gilbert Burns is going to come out. He's going to have his foot on the pedal, and he's going to be throwing some nasty strikes. You know he has the jiu-jitsu, you know, if it hits the mat as well. He's younger. He's a good fighter, man. I like Gilbert Burns.
Yeah, me too. And I watched this Konchenko fight. That kind of like was an eye opener, really, because you're looking at the guy and Konchenko is a very solid kickboxer, right? He was unbeaten, and he put Burns in a lot of trouble with the leg kicks and stuff like that. I mean, his stand up was he has a really solid stand-up, and then Burns comes in and strikes with him, right? Takes him down. He had mixed up his game and beats him. So it's like, I think like if you're trying to bat T Wood, you got to ask yourself a question: what does he have to beat him? Wrestling game? No, right? Like stand up? No, right? Can he press the action? Like the only thing I think he has on him is cardio. But then at the same time, it's like you're looking at T Wood like. That's the only thing. Like if Burns presses the action and T Wood stays in like through the round third and fourth round, it's like can Burns guess out? I don't think that T Wood can put like this much action like press forward to an extent that he will get tired. Like Burns get tired. So it's like I don't see there are very few things that I see that that makes T Wood valid to bet. So I'm like gotta wait maybe a little bit of an action on T Wood coming in, and then bet Burns at the tail end to see if you can get better odds. I mean, I don't know.
Well, wait, and to talk about Burns' cardio a little bit more, like the Konchenko fight, remember, he took that fight on short notice. You know, I believe he did take that fight on short notice, and he definitely slowed down big time in the third round. But he did say the reason why he couldn't, or not that he couldn't, but the reason why he slowed down and took that third round off, didn't have a full training camp. He knew that he won the rounds 1 and 2. So, you know, that wasn't a good look, though. You know, Konchenko was chasing him down the third round. But I feel like I've seen Burns slow down a little bit in a couple other fights as well. I have to go back and remember exactly, pull out the notebook. But I've seen him slow down before. But you know what? Woodley is a guy that I don't believe has great cardio himself. I really don't believe that because the thing is, though, he might not have the best cardio. He's very muscle bound, but he's smart enough. He has great fighter IQ that's why he paces himself so much. You know what I mean? In every fight, he's always pacing himself. You know, he takes his time. He waits to engage. I don't think he's the type of fighter that wants to go in there and put a big output out because he knows, you know, that, you know, he has a lot of muscles that, you know, he has to feed those muscles. You know, that they need a lot of oxygen. And I think that if he really was in an absolute brawl from round 1 to 2 to 3, I think he'd be gassed out.
Yeah. Quarantillo. Excited for that fight. I have no clue what's gonna happen to that. I had my I was looking very closely to Quarantillo, and I'm like, okay, like because his Kilburn fight was really good, but then I see the fight prior to that in the Contender Series. I'm like, oh my god, this is just this is like it's first of all, this fight is unbettable. Like you can't bet that fight. Like you can't bet that fight.
Yeah.
There's no way. It's so close. There's no. It's like, why would you want to bet this fight? I mean, you might even win, right? You might say Quarantillo, and then Quarantillo can come up and knocks him out. But it's an illusion of control because it's not like it's a 50-50. It can go either way.
I agree.
And
Billy's probably not the way to go because I slightly edge him, but not where the line is. Not where the line is at all. Because he's like, I don't know what the exact odds are right now. I saw him like around -145, somewhere around there, -140. And like you said, man, that fight can go anyway. So I usually don't like to pick fighters or with those types of odds in that situation. Just to give you guys an update, man. Bruce Leroy just actually here he is, man. I'm gonna bring Bruce Leroy and Alex Caceres, man. So we're gonna chat it up with him. I hope Taj, you stay around. Maybe later we'll catch up or whatnot. All right.
Yeah, good talking to you, brother. Take care.
All right, brother. Take care, man. What's up, Alex?
How's it going?
Good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
Good, man. Good. We're just we got MMA live discussion going, episode number 4. Yeah, we had Joe Giannetti on a little bit ago. We're chatting with the fans, and now we got Alex Caceres. Do you like to go by Alex or by Bruce Leroy? Because everyone loves to call you Bruce Leroy.
Oh, it doesn't matter, whatever you like to call me, but yeah, I usually go by Alex.
Okay, Alex. So Alex, man, first and foremost, man, you got a big fight coming up, huh, man? Chase Hooper, UFC 250. How you feeling going into this fight?
I'm feeling good. I had a very good training camp. I'm feeling comfortable. I'm always ready to do it, so I'm just waiting on the day.
Gotcha. Is this? I mean, so this fight's pretty much just like any old fight, or with the whole circumstances of the whole situation, nobody being in the crowd, being that there's going to be a lot of eyes on this fight. A lot of people are looking for some type of entertainment. Maybe even people that don't normally watch fights, maybe they're tuning in. Any added pressure? Or you feel good?
No, I haven't really taken the time to think about it, or I don't know. It doesn't. I wouldn't see it bothering me at all.
Got you. I didn't mean the word that as of like pressure. Maybe even in a positive sense. You know what I mean? Like in a positive sense too. You know what I mean? Like a lot of positive energy. A lot of people watching this fight. You know what I mean? But yeah, I guess you got a lot going on just training, huh?
Well, yeah. I was just training every day. I just never, not the type of person to ever keep up with the things. I'm just they send me the contract and I agree for the fight and then just train and get ready to go. I obviously watch tape on the opponent, see how the guy fights. Chase Hooper, he's a very good jiu-jitsu guy.
Definitely.
He tries to bring the fight to the ground, but he is susceptible to striking, which is what I like to do. So I think it's a pretty good matchup. I've been working lately a lot on the ground, especially after the Kron fight. Been trying to focus on that and cover up some holes anyway. So, I'm just feeling comfortable about the fight. Just, get in there and do it.
Yeah. And not to go into your game plan or whatnot, but as you said, it does seem kind of like, I feel like everybody knows that this guy Hooper is an excellent BJJ practitioner, but definitely has holes in regards to his striking. We've seen him get tagged before. We saw him get into some real big trouble in Dana White's Contender Series in his fight there. I've seen him eat some shots in the UFC already. I feel like the blueprint is there. You know what I mean? To use that Bruce Leroy, Alex Caceres type of striking, man, you could definitely cause some damage to Hooper on the feet, huh?
Well, yeah. That's I wouldn't say it's the game plan, but it's quite obvious. I'm the better striker, so I'm going to try and keep it standing. He obviously wants to go to the ground. Whether I feel comfortable on the ground as well, but I know that's where he wants to feel comfortable. Just to I guess I would say not give him his strength, just keep it standing as much as possible and outstrike him just because. I guess it's completely one-sided either way. Yeah.
All right. Well, so, definitely everyone's excited for that bout, but I want to take a step back, man. There's definitely some questions I would love to ask you, man. I've been following you, or I wouldn't so much say following you, man, but I remember watching videos of you way back in the day, bro, like the old street fight videos, down there in Miami. I grew up in Coral Springs, not far from you, but me and my brother used to love watching all those videos, the Kimbo fights, the level fights. and you definitely threw down out there. I've seen some videos of you. How did that all transpire? How did you end up being in whatever kind of fight you want to call it, a backyard fight, whatever? How did you end up being out there?
Well, I was just I was training at my gym, and these guys, Level Martinez, the guys that would go out there and do those type of fights and whatnot, they used to train at my gym as well. And I guess we just got to know each other, and we just trained a lot together. And then they offered for me to go out there if I wanted to make some money. I wasn't of age to get a professional fight yet, so
Gotcha.
it was one way I could make money before I started fighting professionally. So I went out there, represented the team, and won a couple fights out there as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I was definitely going to say, because it definitely seemed like you had some proper training going into those fights. I remember you working your jiu-jitsu. You had the jiu-jitsu game going down out there. Was that one of your base type of art? Did you start with BJJ or just overall MMA?
Well, I started wrestling in high school because my brother joined the wrestling team, so I joined after him. And then when we joined the wrestling team, I met one of our friends, Enrico Coco, who practiced BJJ and mixed martial arts and stuff at a freestyle fighting academy. And then we started going over there, training like cross training from our wrestling team with that team and stuff. And that's where we started to learn like jiu-jitsu and like basic kickboxing and stuff.
Gotcha, man. So and stepping out there, it was nothing. You never had any type of fear in your heart, huh? Like something like that was nothing to you. You feel like you're fighting in the gym already, right? You're already fighting, sparring in the gym, so it's so different.
Well,
to
I mean,
step
I
out.
grew up fighting all the time. I wasn't necessarily the ideal, I guess, kid. Growing up, I was used to get into a lot of fights at school. I spent a lot of time being suspended, so I've always was comfortable fighting. So it wasn't just, but I was. How can I say this? I was always comfortable fighting, so I was just learning how to fight was natural, naturally in my path, I guess. Eventually.
Can you take us back to an Alex Caceres, one of your better performances back in high school? What is a fight with Alex Caceres like? How does that fight transpire? Is it over a girl? Is it over what kind of fight is it about?
No, I mean, I just have always been that type of person that just no, I mean, I can't say that I'm always the good guy or so to speak. I mean, we all have our moments, but I mean, for the most part, I just didn't like to be bothered in a sense. I've always like I guess I always have like I was social, but I had a reclusive personality, I guess. So
yeah,
when I was busy, I just didn't like to be bothered, I guess. And some certain people just, I guess, getting in their head that they want to bother you. And I've always been a small kid growing up, and I've always been skinny. So I guess like it seemed easy to bully me, and I just never took any shit. So that's usually why I would get into fights.
I could relate to you on a lot of that. I was always a more slender type of kid too, and we have a very similar mindset. Seems very similar. I can relate to you. All right, so man, past all that stuff, you end up being in the Ultimate Fighter house. Maybe take us down that road, man. How was it? Was that a surreal experience being in the Ultimate Fighter house and eventually, making your way to the big show in the UFC?
Well, yeah, it was definitely, even looking back on it now and trying to think back on it now, it definitely feels like a dream. It was, there's something not real about it, or I don't know how to explain it, but yeah, I guess
can I ask you this? Real. Can I ask you this in regards to that? Like Joe Giannetti just came on earlier. He was also on the Ultimate Fighter, and actually he said he's a fan of yours, man. He remembered watching your whole season. But he said, like, and I can relate to him too. I was a big Ultimate Fighter fan. Were you similar in that fashion, man? Did you always watch the Ultimate Fighter? Was it like kind of like surreal being there because like you were a big fan of the show and whatnot?
Not at all. I don't watch sports, and I don't watch things related to sports ever at all. I can't get into it. Like, I don't know. It's information. And then like when, like, it's a lot of information you got to remember, like stats, scores, and fighters and names and all this stuff. And to me, it's like I would rather learn. If I had to learn information, I would rather learn something
Yeah,
that I can
yeah.
put to use. Like if I had to like learn like maybe a type of like chemistry or biology or herbology or I guess plant identification knowledge and stuff. If I had to store some
Nice.
type of energy, and it's just too much work. I feel for a pointless endeavor at times.
Got you. Yeah, it's funny because even I want to get more into Ultimate Fighter and all that in your fighting career, but it's funny that you bring that up because I was just watching your Instagram live video, and I mean you're a really interesting dude, man. I seen you over there juicing, not good juicing, making the green drink, and you were really preaching over there, man. And I related to a lot of the stuff that you were talking about. Just to touch upon that in regards to this whole situation we got going on, people are flipping out about this, but what about flipping out about all these fast food restaurants that are on every corner that people don't pay any mind to, man. Those fast food joints that are on every corner take way more lives than anything that's going on right now. You know what I mean? And I definitely respected that.
They're also contributing to well, I mean, if you want to think about it like that, I mean, they're also contributing to the whole thing that we're going through now, this whole pandemic. I mean, didn't it start from animals being kept in too close proximity, and it's
Okay, yeah.
COVID-19, so it's another type of SARS virus. So like it came from chickens and shit. And so I'm just saying it's like we sell a lot of fast food chickens. There's a lot of factory farms that farm a lot of chickens, stacked up on top of each other in horrible conditions. So disease is running rampant. I mean, they have to pump them full of antibiotics so they don't spread disease. In hopes they don't spread disease, but stuff like this still can get through. So it's just it's not that we consume animal products. I don't believe that's destroying the earth, because people can make that claim. Oh, we've been doing it for millions of years. Yeah, a lot of us have been, but we're not doing it in the rates and in the insatiable consumption that we're doing it now. Like we're going overboard. It's like we can't be satisfied.
Yeah. And also, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Right.
I lost my.
No, I was just gonna say, like, also, I thought one of the routes you're gonna go to is like as far as those fast food joints playing a part in what's going on. A lot of people that are dying are the people that are eating all that junk food. If you're obese, you have heart disease and all this, you're the type of person that's more susceptible to this having a real impact on your life. You know what I mean? So, I think we should all be pushing, eating healthy, be safe and everything, and eat healthy, take your vitamins, support your immune system and all that stuff. But, all right, back to fight talk. So all right, so you're in the Ultimate Fighter house, after that you're in the UFC, man. And it's kind of crazy. You take a look at your career, you legitimately grew up in the UFC in a way. You know what I mean? Well, you had about like 7 to 8 professional fights before, you made your UFC debut. And now you're talking about, you've had almost 30 fights. It's really surreal. You don't see a lot of fighters, man, that have had as many fights in the octagon as you. You know what I mean? It's impressive.
I guess, definitely had a lot of fights. Most of my career I spent in the UFC. So it's a pretty good feeling. I think about that at times.
Yeah. And you've been blessed to share the octagon with some really formidable opponents, man. You took out Sergio Pettis. You stepped in there with Hall of Famers like Uriah Faber, but even just fighting like tough dudes like what's his name, Martin Bravo. That was a recent victory you had. That's a tough Mexican fighter, Martin Bravo. And as of recently, you won 3 of your last 5 fights. Now you're going into this next fight. If you win this fight, you're on a 2-fight win streak, and you're only 31 years old. You know what I mean? You pull this victory off against Chase Hooper. This guy's a lot of hype behind him. You pull this victory off. You know what I mean? And then, there's some big things on the horizon. I mean, do you look at it like that, or are you just kind of chilling out? You're just going for the ride. But because I first see some big things down the road.
I feel like every fight's like that. I feel like no matter what, every fight there's something on the line, or there's, you're close to something, or something's gonna happen. So it's just. It's the same amount of pressure. Like either way I cut it. So I try just to focus on what I'm gonna do, focus on my training, focus on being focused, I guess, so to speak.
Yeah.
Just make sure that I get in their hole and complete my job, because really, the most that I can do is study my opponent, get ready for my opponent. Other than that, thinking about anything else is irrelevant. All that pressure, it's going to be there regardless. So I just have to deal with it.
Got you. All right, we got a question, man, from JT MMA. He says, what would Alex's dream matchup be? You got a dream matchup?
Honestly, no, not the next fight.
Got you. Good mindset, man. Good mindset. And one other thing I definitely got to say, somebody was adamant that I asked you this. He's like, make sure Alex talks about his Dominican heritage. You're Dominican?
Yes, I am. Half
Okay,
Dominican
yeah.
and half.
Got you. Yeah, because somebody that was Dominican was commenting before. They're like, make sure you ask Alex, man, to preach about being Dominican. He was a proud Dominican dude. So cool that you could touch upon that. And yeah, I really appreciate you coming on. UFC 250, bro. We're all going to be watching. And I think it's a nice matchup for you, man. I think it's a really nice matchup for you. And I appreciate you taking the time to pop in here. And just to give you some background, this is only my 4th episode I've done here, MMA Live Discussion. So I'm just getting this going. And hopefully in the next time that you come on down the road, you know what I'm saying? Things will be a little bit nicer here. I'll have more of a following and whatnot. But I'm on the rise over here as well. And I'll be watching you on your journey, man, as your journey continues in the UFC.
Oh, man, thank you very much for having me on.
All right, Alex. There you guys have it. Thank you, man.
Good night.
Good night.
Peace.
There you guys have it, man. Alex Caceres, Bruce Leroy. That was cool, man. He has a big fight coming up, man. UFC 250 against Chase Hooper. Chase Hooper is that young dude who came from Dana White's Contender Series, who everyone's talking about. He's the dude, man. He's a funky dude. He's very young, only 19 years old, has a lot of hype behind him. And Alex Caceres, I think it's an excellent matchup for him. Alex Caceres is a guy that he's a very well-rounded fighter. Just has to watch out for the submissions of Chase Hooper, and he has to use his striking. And that's a fight that he could pull off for sure. So, and for those of you guys that are here for the betting aspect, if you look at the line on that fight, I believe that Chase Hooper is I got to check it again, but I believe he's right around. He's a slight favorite, or a moderate favorite. I'm gonna pull it up. I think he's like a minus. Let me just double check that before. I was looking at it earlier. I don't want to speak out of context. But what did you guys think about the interviews, man? We had Bruce Leroy and Joe Giannetti. Who do you guys want to see come on the show, man? Comment now. Who do you guys want to see on the show? Let me know now so I can work on that for you guys, because I've been talking to a lot of these guys, and I'm gonna have them have these guys coming on the show. If there's somebody you guys want in particular, let me know. Pull up that line real quick. So we take a look at UFC 250. The line on that fight is, let's see, we got Alex Caceres. Yeah, exactly what I thought. Chase Hooper is a minus 140. So Alex Caceres, man, Bruce Leroy he's an underdog right now. Plus 115, you can get him like on average. Plus 115. If you can get Bruce, people might start throwing money on Hooper as that fight comes closer. So expect some money. I think there'll be more money thrown on Hooper. And that's what I see right now. If you look at the lines, there's been money coming in on Hooper. So if you're going to take Bruce Leroy, you might want to wait on that. Wait, let the line get better. If you feel that Bruce Leroy can stuff the takedowns and use his striking, and we've seen Chase Hooper be susceptible to strikes before, Bruce Leroy can do that. We've seen Alex Caceres have some big upsets in the octagon, man. We've seen him take out Sergio Pettis. And even as of recently, he's fought some decent guys. He's been kind of on a win one, lose one type of road right now, but coming off a victory against Steven Peterson. Steven Peterson's a tough dude, not the most technically sound fighter, but the Martin Bravo victory. Martin Bravo's a tough dude. Rolando Dai stopped him, excuse me. And then, yeah, he's a good fighter. I mean, he just has to stuff those takedowns. He's beaten guys like that, man. Cole Miller is a guy that has a very similar style to Chase Hooper. Cole Miller is a tall, lanky type of fighter, jiu-jitsu specialist, but Cole Miller was really more well-rounded towards the later of his career. But, Bruce Leroy is a guy that has went out there before and has taken out a guy with a similar stature and skill set. of this young guy, Chase Hooper, just to touch upon that. Yeah, we've been going for an hour and 39 minutes. Before I close down the show, man, I'm going to open up the show again. I'm going to paste the link. If anybody wants to come on before we close down, MMA Live Discussion Episode 4. I'm going to post it here. If anybody wants to come on, if there's something particular that you guys want to talk about, now is the time to hop in. And yeah, if somebody wants to come in, if anybody new wants to pop in, come in now. Otherwise, we're gonna put on Arseny, who Arseny is gonna become a regular of the show. Before you know it, he's gonna be my co-host here, and I enjoy it, man. Arseny is a guy that really knows this stuff, and it's always a pleasure to bring him on. If anybody wants to come in now, because Arseny is gonna come in, and we're gonna talk here for a minute. So if you want, click the link, and Arseny's gonna hop in now. In the meantime, what's up, Ars?
What's up, man? Yeah, appreciate that. Thanks for the nice words. But hey, man, I was gonna say, you were talking about the, the other handicappers and those ads and stuff. So actually, out of curiosity, I looked up some of these handicappers, and I did the same thing.
Before you say anything, do me a favor. Don't give any of these guys any type of notoriety.
No,
don't say any names, please, because it makes me
of course
sick.
I will not. No, of course I will not. But I'm sure you guys have all seen them, But no, I wasn't gonna do that. But I just looked up, like, there's a website like betmma.tips, and you could see a lot of these people's records. And man, like, I compared, like, I really did a lot of research, because I'm like, I'm curious how well does the average person perform? How do they perform? And I looked it up, man. No one had a record like you with the consistent profitable nights. So, let's say someone had a ridiculously profitable night one night, but then they'd be loss.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or just a little bit of a win, a little bit of a lose, a little bit of a win, a little bit of a lose. Like, there wasn't, you don't really see that consistency that you have. So, I really dug in deep on those numbers. Like, I spent like a good 30 minutes an hour looking it up, looking at the ROI, looking at all the numbers and stuff.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I've been third-party tracked for over a year now at Caprotech. You can see my resume. And, besides even my third-party tracking, man, I wanted to touch upon something you were talking about in regards to these other guys that are out there. Like I was saying earlier, man, some of these guys, they're not real cappers. And, for example, have you ever noticed, if you look at some of these guys, what they profited within a certain time frame, you can't just look at like, oh, this guy's profited 100 units within a month, and you're talking about MMA fortune tellers only profited 40. But it's not what they've done. The 100 units, the majority of these guys, a lot of them are fake. And what I mean by that is, check their bet slips. These guys bet 11 units a play. You know what I'm saying? So what they do is, first off, if you go on Caprotech, you'll see these guys, they have like burner accounts. They make all these different the accounts, and then hopefully one hits off good. And what they do is they throw 4 or 5 plays out there on 11 unit plays. And if they hit, they profited 80 units, and they're on the rankings. They're on the top. They're way above me on the rankings. See, it's not about that. If you really know what you're looking for a guy that really knows what he's doing. That you can also tell by the plays that he takes. I mean, some of these guys are throwing 11 unit play at minus 500. Like, they're just throwing all types of crap out there. But the more that you guys learn, I mean, you could tell the fakers out there, and there's a lot of them. I'll be honest with you guys, and I'm not just saying this just to say this. When I look through the rankings on Caprotech, or I look at other guys on Instagram promoting their stuff, I very, 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 very rarely find a guy that is even respectable for me to be like, all right, there's a couple of them. There's a couple guys out there that I see that are even halfway respectable. And especially in regards to making YouTube videos. Honestly, when it comes to making YouTube videos, there's only one other guy out there, period. And the chances that who the guy I'm talking about, it's probably not. If you watch a bunch of different videos, all those other guys you watch are trash. They have no clue what they're doing. There's one other guy out there that's good at what he does. He's decent. He really knows the game, and we agree on a lot of different aspects of what we do. And if you look at that guy's track record too, he's decent, but he's not as good as me. You know what I mean? And so, this is something I put a lot of time into, but it's just sad to know that certain people really pay these guys money, and especially those guys on Instagram that are like just waking up in the bed. You see these guys making videos like, oh, I'm waking up and it's going to be a big Saturday UFC. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, bro, you don't even know the first thing. You could tell these guys don't even know the first thing. And I'll tell you another crazy story. How about this? Dude, if you go on OfferUp, right? I'm on OfferUp. I'm looking to buy little things here and there, mostly sell stuff. But I typed in UFC to see if there's any cool UFC memorabilia, stuff like that. I saw when I searched the UFC, it came up an MMA handicapper, a sports handicapper. I'm like, this guy's on offer up. I start messaging him just to mess with this guy. I'm like, hey man, what are your plays for this weekend? Right. And this guy, but the fights already were taking place. I was actually talking to this guy as that last event. I believe it was the Overeem fight. And he's like, oh, well, he's like, because it was late. He knew that the fights already took place. But you know what he told me? He's like, well, my play for the card was this. And the play that he told me was a play from the prior weekend. Remember that event that we had the weekend before?
Yeah.
So this guy didn't even know that there was fights taking place. He didn't even know what he was talking about. And he was trying to scam me. And they're like, oh, trust me, bro, I'm really good at what I do and this and that. And I'm like, dude, and then I didn't even break the news and say, hey, bro, like I was just testing you. I just kept it to myself. And I'm like, damn, bro, it's a damn shame. And people, I guarantee you someone pays a guy like that. You know what I mean? Someone probably pays a guy like that. It's sad.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
and like, I think also, you know, what you said about right now is that MMA is kind of like the Wild West of sports betting still. You know, there's still a lot of, you know, it's not as established, and it's still kind of, what's the word? There's definitely not as much action on MMA as there is, I think, on like football or MLB or something like that. So there's definitely a lot of, you know, there's shady people coming up. So you just have to do a lot of research. I mean, it really just comes down to it. You know, you just have to, like, you know, how I found out about you is, you know, just watching everybody. And I was saying, I remember the one card that really, everything really stood out was the Jan Blachowicz against Corey Anderson, because everybody and their mother had Corey Anderson by decision that fight. I remember that. I was like, everyone and their mother, like most people,
not me.
Everybody, Corey Anderson. And I was like, man, and I remember I won money, and this was before I joined the team, but I was just listening to your picks, and I'm like, man, like, you know, I think, and I remember I had talked to a buddy of mine, and he thought, you know, who's been following MMA for a long time, and he's like, I think the Jan Blachowicz Corey Anderson is 50-50, and I'm like, oh snap, I can get Blachowicz at plus 2. And he's saying it's a 50-50 fight. So I'm like, either way, regardless, it's a good choice. And I remember I put a good amount of money on Blachowicz and had a nice return.
Nice.
And I'm like, and then I backtracked and I'm like, who was actually picking Blachowicz to win that fight? And then again, I did that with a couple other fights. I remember another one was Kevin Lee against
Charles
Oliveira. Charles Oliveira. I mix up Alex and Charles all the time.
Yeah.
But against Charles Oliveira. And I remember I also made money, and this was also before I joined the team. I just remember you said on your pick, you're like, yo, Charles Oliveira is going to finish Kevin Lee. And I locked in Charles Oliveira by finish at like, bro, like I think it was plus 300 or something. Like it was something. I don't remember if it was plus, but it was definitely plus in the 200s. It was either plus 300 or it was like plus 200 something. And then I was like, and then also most people are like big on Kevin Lee. So there was a couple fights that I backtracked, and I was like, man, this guy, the MMA teller knows what he's talking about. You know, a lot of other people, they're just, you know, even if they have experience, like some people I felt like they may have had experience, but they just don't have the ability to pick the fights. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just because you do a lot of the research behind the scenes. Versus, you know, you might just look at stuff superficially, you know, because, you know, I might know a lot of stuff about MMA superficially, but again, I don't know as much as you, because again, you're putting in the time watching the tape and analyzing it, analyzing it. So
that's the key for sure. Yeah. That's definitely the key. You have to be able to sit down on your laptop or your TV, whatever, and you have to be able to sit there and watch fights for hours, and you have to be able to enjoy it, because otherwise you ain't gonna want to do it. And if you don't watch the tape, you don't have the edge. And then also, man, just throughout the years too, man, just watching so many different fights, and then not even just watching the fights, but then also starting to think about fights in a betting mindset and understanding like where the lines are and really what you're looking at in regards to a fight and where the line should be. And it just over time you start to understand that better and better. Like I'm a better right now in regards to MMA. I'm better at betting on MMA right now than I've ever been, and I truly believe I'm better right now than I was a year ago. You know what I mean? There's sometimes I hit certain plays now that I really wouldn't eye so much a year ago, that you know, certain things I look for. So, you know, you just keep getting better and better at it. And, you know, with anything in life, if you really put a lot of time into anything, and if you really have a passion for it, you should end up being pretty good at it if you put that time in. So, you know, it's even in regards to betting. It really is. It's in regards to MMA betting. But you know what? I'll tell you this much too, man. Like in regards to these BS guys that we're talking about, like that they give all these different sports picks out, you know, NFL, NHL, all these types of sports. I'll be honest with you guys, if I wanted to do that, I could 100% do that right now and make way more money. 100%. Dude, I can do the same thing that I'm doing right now. I could have a YouTube channel breaking down NFL football games, breaking down NBA games. I could do all that. And I love those types of sports too. And I can make way more money. That's my whole point. I can make way more money. I can have way more people inquiring, hitting me up. And I could probably be pretty good at it too, because I'm good at, especially in regards to college football and NFL. But the thing is, I want to do something that I enjoy, and that's why I specialize in MMA. And I wouldn't feel good in my heart knowing that I'm giving people half-ass picks. I couldn't give people – I wouldn't feel good taking money from people and then giving them like college football games that I really didn't do the homework into. I'm just kind of picking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the only way I can do that and feel good about it is in regards to MMA, because I watch the tape. I love it. And that's what I like to do. Obviously, you guys see me here, man, with the channel. So,
yeah, I mean, what you're talking about, like that's a huge red flag. Like, I mean, I don't know how someone could think that this guy is a master at basketball, college football, hockey, MMA, boxing. You know, I understand like MMA and boxing because they're related, right? But not MMA and baseball, not MMA and Australian rules football. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Hockey.
Yeah, everywhere.
How about another major red flag? I'll give you guys another note. Major red flag. How about these guys? The same guy, one guy I was talking about. How about the guy that I'm getting excited for the night? It's a big fight, Saturday fight night, coming off a pretty good night last night. Like he tries to act like he's being like humble, like he's being honest with you, right? Like, I wish I would have hit this other bet, you know what I mean? But overall, it was a pretty good night because I went 10 for 15. I'm like, wait, we went 10 for 15 on a Friday night? You had 15 bets out? How do you have 15 bets out on a Friday night? That's ridiculous. How are you profiting long-term? You can't bet on 15. You can't have 15 bets out on a Friday night. Your odds will go down the drain. First off, you know what I'm saying? You're paying the tax on it anyway. You never have even odds. And second off, if you have that many bets out, there's no way that you put that much mind into all those different selections. And I call BS on that all day. At most, you should have like 5 on a given night. That's really pushing it. And you could have 5 if you really see some edges, you see some holes, you can have 5. But if you're betting like 10 bets a night on something, I call BS on that too. And those are the guys that are charging. They're charging you. You can get all 15 of their plays. I mean, think about the time it would take you to get 15 plays every other night, every Friday, Saturday. I mean, they're just bullshitting, bro. I like Wake Forest. Give them that, They're just picking and choosing. And then it's sad because there's people that are out there that are really betting big money on that if they're stupid enough to believe those people. But I don't know, not to talk too much about all that, but
yeah. No, I just when you said that, it was funny because I was just just looking at that, but yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, man. But all right, Arseny, man, it's always good catching up with you. One thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna try to keep these videos to around. I love talking with you guys. I can sit here and talk all night, but I'm gonna try to start keeping these videos under 2 hours. Try to close it down. This way, I don't want to water it down too much. You know what I mean? A couple people are saying, I don't make the videos too long, but we'll be right back here next Thursday, man. Next Thursday, we'll be back every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern. I always appreciate you stopping by, Arseny, man. I hope to see you here next Thursday. Can't give you guys any news on who I'm going to have, but just to give you guys some insight, Tim Elliott, he didn't want to come on today. He said it was a little tough for him. He said, so we might have Tim Elliott on, maybe a victorious interview with him after he wins this weekend. Hopefully, shout out to Tim Elliott. Hopefully he wins. But he said he was a little bit too busy, traveling and whatnot, and has his fight going on. So respect to him for that. Another guy that I've talked to about having on, he's working at the firehouse. Man, we were trying to work it out. Is Eddie Wineland. Eddie Wineland. He's taking on Sean O'Malley. So that would have been cool to have him on. But we'll probably do that down the road. And then there was a couple other guys that I've been talking to. So you guys know I'll put the work in, and we'll get some exciting interviews here again. So MMA live discussion, man. We'll be here next Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern. And anything else you want to say, Arseny? You got any last?
Always great catching up with you. See you next week, bro.
All right, man. You guys all enjoy the fights. We got a nice event this Saturday, and we got just to close things out, man. We got a nice event this Saturday. It's not the most amazing card, but you guys be appreciative. We got fights Saturday, man. We got fights going on. Let's enjoy them. And then we got UFC 250. As soon as the fights end this Saturday, UFC 250 fight week's coming up right around the corner. And I heard mixed reviews on this, but I don't care what anybody says. UFC 250 is a beautiful card. I am very much looking forward to that fight card for a couple different reasons. And you guys stay tuned. We got a big show next Thursday. Like I said, we got to talk about UFC 250, and I'll go into more details why I'm really, really looking forward to UFC 250 more than the average card. I'm going to break the news on that. I might have to wait till after Saturday. We'll see how things go. But there's something I definitely want to talk about in regards to UFC 250. So, all right, man. Creeping up on 2 hours, man. We're going to close the show out. Thank you guys, everybody that tuned in live. I appreciate all you guys. Please hit that like button. Like this video. It helps me out. And if you haven't already subscribed, if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. We're on our way now to 2K. And things are going good. It's going to be another profitable weekend coming up. Mark the teller's words. It will be another profitable weekend this Saturday. And on that note, we'll signing out. The teller.